Hey guys, welcome to Green Bean Fiction. So in today's video we are gonna see what if Deku became master of Haki and had Harem. Before starting, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you are interested in MHA fanfictions. This story is Izuku D Midoriya by Armored Lord 1115. Now without wasting any more time, let's dive in. No one Pav. Location: Izuku room. We could see in a small dirty room a child no older than 10 counting some monies in his hand as he made sure to look around him every now and then as he had a box in front of him which oddly enough had socks in it, but upon closer inspection some of those socks seem to be filled like there is something hidden inside it. Izuku. $2,453, $2,454, $2,455 and done $2,456. It isn't much, but that will do. He then placed the money inside a clean socks that he had and never used from the age of 4 and placed that socks inside the box before he closed it, wiping the sweat from his forehead as he smiled a genuine smile at that. He hid the box underneath his bed and covered it with other boxes before he plopped on the bed. Izuku. Sigh. Phew. That was a close one, but I think I can afford to buy that boat. Izuku eye darted towards some shopping bags hidden well inside his room. It contained some of his new clothes that he bought for the trip he is planning to take. The reason why he is leaving Japan was because of the neglect of his parents and bullying in the school because of his quirkless status. The only ones who were ever nice to him was this beautiful cyan hair girl that he met once. She never laughed at his dream of becoming a hero despite being quirkless, but she was also at some point subjected to bullying because she had a rather weird way of mannerism as she would fire a lot of questions at point blank and doesn't seem to know personal space, but Izuku loved her nonetheless. Izuku felt bad that he will have to leave like this, and he even told her in person, which she cried a lot, but she accepted it since she knew that life dealt him a bad hand. But she made him promise to return one day and become hero with her, or at least be there for her, and she also told him that if he decided not to return it was his choice and to find someone who loves him. She also give him a kiss on the lips, something that he will forever cherish. He rubbed his lips, but he smiled nonetheless as he decided to drift into a deep slumber. Next day, Izuku woke up rather early than he normally does since he plans to finally sneak away without being suspected by anyone or confronted at the small luggage and his fancy clothes, you could say, and wrote a letter to his family that if they bothered to even read it in the first place. He took an apple and banana from the counter before he decided to book it out of the house. He munched on the apple with a satisfied look as he walked towards the shores where he found a small boat which would fit him quite nicely. He found that the owner is rather a young teen, which made it perfect since if the owner was an elderly he wouldn't have sell the boat even if Izuku gave him all of his money. Izuku. Sir, I came here to buy a boat. Teen, annoyed. So you are the buyer, aren't you? Too young to buy something like that or even have the money for it? Izuku. I have the money. Izuku generously pulled half of his money and handed it to the teenager, who gave a smirk as he snatched the money from Izuku's hand as he started counting while he had a cigarette in his mouth. Teen, smirk. All done. Here is the key. It was a pleasure working with you, kid. Now ciao. Izuku took the key as he gave a grin. Right in front of him was the boat he was going to use. Luckily the teen had installed some food and drinks inside since he received more money than he should have, which surprised Izuku, but who he is to refuse that, so he jumped inside the boat, making sure to place his backpack inside and placed the key, making sure the engine is working. Luckily there was also a catalog involved, which he really didn't need it as he had already researched about the boat that he was planning to buy. Izuku. All set. Let's start the adventure. The boat started moving as he had his hand on the wheels of the boat as he started accelerating slightly to the ocean as he had looked behind him as the shore became smaller and smaller each time the boat would go further. He had drove for an hour now and he was getting tired of standing the whole time, so he decided to take a small rest as he laid in a futon inside the small boat as he held a small smile. The boat, which was accelerating, stopped as it started moving with the air pushing it further deep in the ocean. The sound of eagles could be clearly heard. It was a really beautiful, and Izuku felt a lot of comfort. He felt free like that eagle. Izuku. Have I known I would have taken that trip much earlier than that. Who would have thought that setting sail would be so freeing? Next day. It has been a day so far and Izuku hadn't reached a land or anything of that sort. He sighed in frustration as he was contemplating if he should return to Japan and just give up on traveling as well, but he was already too far for him to go back, so he decided to continue the journey. But not 30 minutes later he could hear gunshots and screams. In a panic state he went out to check the source of noise to find 2 ships bigger than his boat by 10 times. People were seen exchanging, fighting each other with people coating their hand with black substance. The fight had ended when a man with a tattoo on his face demolished the ship with what he assumed to be wind quirk, but that led to one of the boat wood to crash into Izuku boat, which made water of the ocean to come at a crazy amount of rate, sinking the boat with Izuku screaming. Izuku. HELPP. The man with tattoo realized what he just done and realized that a kid was caught in the fight against some high-level smugglers. Izuku on the other hand was freaking out. He knew that for things to be peaceful was so good to be true, and he knew that it was no longer use resisting death. He knew that he wasn't born to have anything good for him, but little did he know that this was fate leading him to his true family. The kid is drowning. Somebody do something. Stay back, soldier, I will handle that. Yes, Supreme Commander. The man with tattoo used his wind to carry the now unconscious Izuku, who had a scar over his left eye. Poor kid, he got caught in the crossfire. Ivankov, take him inside to the infirmary, and if you can learn who he is, that would be appreciated. We would interrogate him later as to what he is doing so deep in the ocean. Ivankov. Hee-haw, with pleasure, Dragon. Ivankov carried the scared Izuku and took him inside for their doctor and nurse heal him and see if he is going to wake up. Dragon then looked at the sky with the air breeze hitting his face. He smirked. Dragon. What an interesting kid. I could sense it clear as day. He have the 3 Haki, but your resemblance are uncanny to my former friend and comrade Hisashi D Midoriya. Dragon turned around as he walked away from the ship railing. As he walked inside to his private bedroom, which was luxurious, he then sat on his office and started writing the report of today's mission so he can give it to the higher-ups in the world government. No one Pav. Times KIP 2 days later. It has been 2 days so far since the incident, and Izuku, who was knocked out, seemed to be in a comfortable white bed. He had started squirming in the bed before his eyes shut wide open, thinking that he was in heaven or hell, but he was only met with a white ceiling and the odor that he is so familiar with, which is the odor of medical equipment. He tried to stand up, but he was met with a gentle hand pushing him to sleep. Don't exert yourself, kid, you still haven't recovered yet. Izuku looked at the unknown man to remember that he was the same person that saved him. The man was a tall middle-aged man with spiky black hair with a widow's peak and a tattoo on the left side of his face, which is colored dark red. He has a bit of stubble on his chin. He is usually dressed in a long green cloak, underneath which he wears the orange garb of a revolutionary. Izuku. Who are you, Mr. Dragon? The name is Monkey D. Dragon. You were caught in the crossfire between us and some smugglers who were doing quite well fighting us, but I should be the one asking what are you doing here, Izuku. Yagi, we should bring you back home to your family. Izuku was shocked. He didn't expect someone to recognize him, and he was thinking of bolting away since he knew they might return him to them, but the pain made it clear that he wasn't fit to even make some movement. Dragon obviously noticed it and was able to confirm his suspicion. How Izuku was afraid when he mentioned returning him. He had to admit he never liked All Might. He always knew he spelled trouble and was a massive douchebag in many ways than one. Izuku begged, please, Dragon sir, don't return me to them. They have done nothing but neglect me, and my sister and her friends bullied me constantly. The only person that respected me was a nice girl I met and my uncles and grandfather, who rarely visit us because of their work. Dragon, smile. Don't worry, I am not returning you to them. I was only getting confirmation of something. Besides, I know who your biological father is. Izuku, eye widen. Really, you know my father, Mr. Dragon? Dragon. Yes, I do. He was a good friend of mine. His name was Hisashi D Midoriya. That makes you Izuku D Midoriya. Izuku smiled a lot and wanted to even know more about his father, but remember that he was quirkless and didn't know how the guy will even react to that. But Dragon patted Izuku's head reassuringly as he knew what Izuku was thinking. Dragon. Don't worry, we know everything, including you being quirkless, and we don't hate you for it. We do actually have quirkless people in the world government. One of them is the marine hero Garp. He is my father and he is quirkless, but he uses Haki. Izuku. Haki? Do you think I could even use it? Dragon. Don't worry, you have the 3 types of Haki, which we will teach you it later on when we return to the headquarters, but for the moment you need to rest. Honestly, the doctor told us you will be out for a few more days, but you have one hell of a tenacity. Dragon stood up as he handed Izuku a picture of his father and him. Before he walked away, he knew that the kid would appreciate something like as he stood in front of the door holding onto the knob. Dragon. I would have loved telling you more about your father adventure, but I need to lead the troop back to the headquarters. Also, you will be meeting my son and his adoptive brother. They are both quite good people, although my son could be hyperactive and childish. Izuku. Thank you, Dragon sir. Dragon. Also, no need for formality. We are now a family, so please call me Uncle Dragon. Izuku. Nod. Okay, Uncle Dragon. Dragon smile as well before he opened the door and left not before shutting the door behind him gently and walked away. Izuku, who was in his room, relaxed as he placed the picture in the air with the light hitting the picture showing the image of his father wearing a nice outfit that made him look like a noble guy. He had his arm wrapped around Dragon's shoulder as held a wide smile while Dragon had his eyes shut and gave a small smile. Izuku. I wonder if that Haki thingy will make me strong. Maybe I could become a hero. Izuku, due to the revelations of his father, he stayed awake the whole day. Thankfully, he was allowed to make trips to the toilet with the help of some of the soldiers who accompanied him to make sure he is safe, and was given a lot of food, something he never received back in his home, which increased Dragon hate towards All Might and swore that he will one day drag his reputation to the mud. Izuku had managed in the few days that he was with the Revolution Army to get acquainted with most of them. He had learned that there are a lot of members, but he knew that the chief of staff position was vacant and it formerly belonged to his father. There was 5 army commanders who are leaders of armies. Since the Revolution Army is not small, he learned that Ivankov, the guy with weird speech mannerism, was the army commander of the G Army. Then there was Karasu, a guy he never met since he was assigned as the army commander of the North Army. Then there was Bello Betty. She was a girl with a rather revealing clothes who was assigned as the army commander of the East Army. Then there was Morley, who was assigned as the army commander of the West Army. Finally there was Lindbergh, who was assigned as the army commander of the South Army. He learned also that there are the officers, but they are in the HQ along with some other less known members. Izuku smiled widely at the prospect of meeting those people, although Ivankov made sure to warn him about some of their personality, Karasu mumbling, and how he should avoid pointing it out since he seemed to get angry at it, or Betty rude talk but also encouraging words in her own way, and many more. Izuku of course didn't question the guy since he probably knew much better than him. He was also told about his training and how he will be trained by Haki, a member of the Revolution Army, and was told to not underestimate him since he was quite skilled, which Izuku noted. He was also told that once he reached a level that satisfied them in terms of quirkless fighting, then they will start teaching him Haki, which is the most difficult part for anyone to learn, which Izuku accepted the challenge, making Dragon quite pleased and smirked as he was reminded of Hisashi's determination back in the days. No one Pav. Location. Marine HQ. The Navy ship has finally landed at the shores of the HQ of the biggest base Izuku had ever laid his eyes on. That was the main HQ of the Marines, a place where some of the higher-ups like Admiral and even Vice Admiral stay to do their work there. After they secured the ship, a staircase was placed to help the soldiers get out of the ship. Izuku was being lifted by Dragon. Since the moment he set foot on the land he almost got seasick. Well, that's what happened when you stay at a ship for too long. Izuku. I feel sick. Dragon. That is a natural reaction considering you have been in the sea for a week or more, so your body wasn't used to the new change of environment. Give it time and you will get used to it. Izuku. Okay uncle. The soldier then stood in line as Dragon, who was lifting Izuku and Ivankov, was seen walking in the middle as they gave the standard marine salute. Izuku was in awe while Ivankov and Dragon were amused as they expected that type of reaction, because who are they kidding, he is around 10 years old, so something like that will definitely fascinate him. Soldier. Supreme Commander Dragon, Vice Admiral Garp is awaiting you in his office. Dragon. I will be seeing him right as of now. The soldier retreated as he stood along with the other soldier with his salute being there. Izuku. So Garpon is your father? Dragon. Yes he is, but remember what Ivankov told you, don't anger him. He is quite short-tempered and hit people head a lot, although he can be a goofball, something my son inherited from him. Izuku shivered slightly as he imagined seeing a dark silhouette of a scary man who raised his fist before he hit him in the top of his head. He unconscious rubbed his head as Dragon, who was watching, started laughing. Dragon. Thought. You have made one hell of a reputation, old man. Even the kid who never met you is fearful of you. Dragon walked inside the headquarters, which was quite the busy place as some people were seen in calls. Some were running with papers and the janitors who was cleaning every now and then. Izuku wondered how they had that much energy to keep doing this the whole day. He would never understand adults. Dragon continued walking while still carrying Izuku, making sure to walk slowly to let Izuku get a grasp of his surrounding. He thought it would be useful to give him a sort of mini tour. He then arrived at an elevator as he brought out his finger to the fingerprint scanner, which lit green, showing a picture of Dragon himself, resulting in the elevator to open, which he walked inside and repeated the same process as before with the elevator started to move. Izuku. Hey uncle, why do you have to do the fingerprint a second time? Dragon. Well, you see, there is floors that are only accessible to the higher ups like me. For an example, That is also since those places contain secret information that simple officers or soldiers are not trusted with. Also, the children of those admirals and vice admirals are allowed also to those floors, like my son Luffy and adoptive son Ace, who you are going to meet. There is also valuable children who were either like you, have their parents dead, or were former Navy, stay also in those floors as well, and also have their own floor. One example is Nico Robin. She is the same age as you and she is engrossed in historic relics. I am sure you will enjoy her company if you are like her. Izuku. They sound like cool people. Dragon. Also, if you are wondering, they are also quirkless, but they ate devil fruit. Izuku. Devil fruit? Dragon. That is something that we the Marines keep hidden, and we usually gather them and keep them with us so it doesn't fall into someone else's hand. Those fruit grant the user an ability, with my son Luffy eating the Gomu Gomu no Mi, which makes him a literal rubber, while Ace ate the Mera Mera no Mi, making him use fire. But not only that, physical attacks or bullets can't kill him, since his body could also be considered made out of fire. The only way to defeat him is if you have armament Haki, which you have. Then there is Robin. She ate the Hana Hana no Mi, making her create multiple hands, which she uses for many things. Izuku. Whoa, that is amazing. Dragon. It is, but despite that it have a great weakness, and that is the sea water. Izuku. Is it because it weakens your body and make you heavy, so basically you are drowning? Dragon. Smirk. Well, you are smart, unlike those two idiots. I think you will do great, kid. You definitely have a bright future ahead of you, like those two idiots who are only causing mischief. Izuku. So are we going to meet them first or go to Grandpa Garp? Dragon. We are going to Vice Admiral Garp first to report the mission, which won't take long. Izuku. Okay. They finally arrived in front of the door of the office, but Dragon sigh, which Izuku noticed before he walked to the side, avoiding the door, which in mere second was launched to the wall, which is a few meters away, with a kid with a scar under his eyes having a pained look, followed by a boy with anger look who had a tattoo on his left arm which say ASCE and wore a hat with 3 weird emojis. Luffy. That HURTSSS, Ace. Damn old man. What do you think you're doing punching us? Izuku watched intrigued at what happened as he literally saw 2 kids launching out of the office and looked at Dragon for any sign of reaction, but Dragon held a bored look as if he had seen this countless of times that made him truly shiver. But what scared him next was a giant of a man as he started stepping on the floor, making cracks, and also started shaking under his pressure. The 2 boys became scared as the man made his appearance. Garp. You 2 are 100 years too young to challenge me. In an instant he had bonked the 2 of them in the head really hard that they had their face slammed on the floor, cracking it. Garp hands seemed to be smoking, with both Luffy and Ace head smoking because of the punch. Izuku gulped, but he was hurt as Garp gave a predatory look towards the 2, with Dragon not being intimidated in the slightest, while Izuku was slightly shaking. Garp. Who's the brat? Dragon. Oh. That is Izuku D Midoriya. I found him sailing in the sea alone. Apparently he ran away after his stepfather All Might neglected him, along with his mother, and his sister and her friends bullied him. Izuku was shocked when he heard that his stepfather was All Might, and he didn't need to question it as everything made sense for him now. How both All Might appear the same time his father left the house, and the uncanny resemblance that made him lose his respect for All Might more than one. Garp on the other hand realized that Izuku was Haishi's son, and that didn't sit well with him as Haishi was a good friend of him and a family as well, but managed to calm down. Garp. Come inside, report the mission and everything you know. Garp walked inside as Izuku walked inside along with Dragon, while a bot came fixed the door before it left. Garp then went to his desk and sat down before he gestured for the 2 to take a seat in front of him, which they complied. Dragon. Before we start, I need to tell you that he have all 3 type of Haki. Garp. Fascinated. Well, I expect nothing less from his son. Anyways, kid, what do you plan to do now that you ran away? Your choice is yours to make. Izuku, timidly. I want to be part of the Marines. To be honest, I idolized All Might a lot, but knowing that he didn't even believe in my dream despite all the pep talk he did on those TV shows, I am starting to lose a lot of interest in becoming a hero in Japan, and besides, knowing that I could get stronger so I could fight criminals and saving people is good for me, since it was always my dream. Garp. Grin. That's what I like it. You have the same determination as your old man. Well, that is fine by me. We will start your Haki training tomorrow. Dragon. I oppose to this idea. Garp. Glare. Why that? Dragon. I am sure you saw how his body is like he is malnourished and need to build his body and learn hack fishman karate before we even consider putting him through that hell, and who knows, he might even create a martial arts that suits him. Garp. TCH. Fine, that is logical, we will talk more, but we need to introduce him to the two other brats and Robin. Izuku became excited as Garp patted his head and just hoped that he isn't bratty like his two grandson and be like Robin, but he would need him to have a lot of social skills, but he knows he will enjoy Izuku company. They then started walking outside to see the two boys were eavesdropping and didn't mind since they will have to eventually learn about Izuku past. Ace. Who's the new kid? Luffy. A new friend, yay, what's your name? Luffy rushed at Izuku asking him questions with star eyes, managing to remind him of a certain cyan hair girl before he sigh and smile. Izuku. The name is Izuku D Midoriya, nice to meet you. Luffy. He is much nicer than you, Ace. Anyways, my name is Monkey D Luffy and the grumpy one behind me is my brother in all but blood, Portgas D Ace. Ace. Like I care. Ace was a little annoyed that the new kid got his brother attention, but he was interested in Izuku as he could sense the Haki. He might not be able to use one, but he can sense one when he sees a person. Garp. Now I want you to introduce to your new friend, sibling, whatever you choose, his new room, and make sure to introduce him to Robin as well. Luffy. Salute. Understood, Gramps. Luffy then dragged Izuku to the elevator as he placed his pinky on it excitedly as it opened, with Izuku being dragged inside the elevator with Ace following behind them, and they went to their floor where they have everything they will need from kitchen, living room, bathroom, 3-room, 2 guest rooms, laundry room, training room. Izuku was really amazed at the expensive furniture as Luffy seemed to giggle at Izuku's reaction and Ace seemed to smirk. Ace. So we heard about your situation since we eavesdropped, is it really true? Izuku. Yep. It is, but please, I don't want to be even remotely associated to them. I am glad that I learned about my biological's father through Uncle Dragon. Luffy. Well, they are such meanies, I will punch them myself. Luffy tried to stretch his arm to signify punching, but his arm got stuck in the chandelier as Ace chuckled before he and Izuku teamed up to free Luffy's hand. Luffy. Ow. That hurts, but thank you, Izuku. Ace. Hey, what about me? Izuku. It's nothing, I couldn't have done it without Ace's help. Luffy. Thank you, Ace. Ace. Thanks. They walked as they give him a mini tour, but they were interrupted by a door to be open revealing a beautiful girl. Izuku has laid eyes on. She was a tall and slender young girl with shoulder-length black hair, and eyes that have dark, wide pupils. She also seemed to be caught by surprise and had a tiny blush, something that was caught by Ace, who gave a smirk. He never once seen Robin even remotely interested in a male, and that was very good. Now he have something to tease her with. Ace smirk. Well, damn, you two have been staring at each other for hours, why don't you kiss already? Luffy childishly. Yikes. Luffy cleaning his lips as the concept of kissing made him disgusted. Well, it was normal since he is a child and hasn't reached puberty yet. Robin, calm down. Hello, my name is Nico. Robin, it's nice to meet you. Izuku. Likewise, the name is Izuku D Midoriya. It's a pleasure to meet you as well, Robin. Izuku's eye darted towards the book she was reading as his eye widened before it turned into excitement. Izuku. Is that The Adventures of the West Blue? Robin, eye widen. Wait, you read it? Izuku. Yes, I was actually halfway done with it. Robin became engrossed with her chat with Izuku as they talked about few of the contents of the books, leaving a shocked Luffy and Ace. Ace. Not another book nerd. Luffy. How come he can make a long conversation with her, when I can't? Ace. Let's admit it, you are stupid, Luffy. Luffy. Like you are not. Ace. Don't call your older brother stupid, crybaby. As they started to fight while Izuku and Robin had already sat down and talked about the book content before they decided to read it together. A camera that was hanged shifted towards Izuku and Robin as it zoomed at them. Dragon smirk. I knew that he would click well with Robin. Garp. Damn kid managed to have the girl to talk more than she ever did in her life. If they don't end up together, then I am retiring, but at least we have another smart one in the family. Dragon. I am going to adopt him, but I want him to get used to the new environment. Garp. That would be for the better. I just hope Luffy hyperactive and Ace rude attitude doesn't rub on Izuku. Dragon. I will be taking my leave. I need to talk to Hack about his training with Izuku. Garp. Why don't you sit down son and drink with your old man for once? Dragon. Well, I won't lose anything. Garp, smirk, great. Let's celebrate the new member of the family. Dragon, smirk, cheers. They hit each other cup before they drank, but it became heated that they became drunk, and that didn't end well to those who encountered those two personification of monstrosity. While Luffy was seen knocked out as Ace won the duel, but not without having some minor scratches. No one pav. Location. Yagi household. While Izuku was having the time of his life enjoying the company of his new brother figures and his potential lover. A panic was going in full mode in a certain house where there is 3 members, 2 consistent of a blonde girl and blonde skinny man along with a green hair women. Those are Izumi Yagi, Toshinori Yagi and Inko Yagi. They are Izuku former family. It has been a week ever since they heard from their son, brother, as Izumi seeing that her brother that she bullied was not there so she can torment him and make him give up on his dream. She decided to inform her parents. She knew that he was always the less priority in the house, but she didn't know that being isolated and neglected can be devastating to someone since she never experienced it herself. It was obviously the day of her birthday. Nothing can break that happiness of hers. There were obviously many guests this time around, unlike before where it was only her and her parents. One of the guests was obviously her uncle Shota Aizawa. She was kind of surprised that he bothered even coming in the first place. Inside his scarf was none other than Principal Nezu, the one who, if she did well in front of him, she could have a guaranteed place in UA in Class 1A. He came since he wanted to get away from paperwork and have fun time trying multiple tea flavor. There was obviously her friends in school: Shoto Todoroki, Shoka Todoroki, Katsuki Bakugo, Katsumi Bakugo, and Najire Hado, who seems to not want to be here in the first place, but her parents convinced her to come. But she didn't hide her hate towards the family, something noticed by her parents, and they told her to be a little lively like she always is. Aside from that, there was also the parents along with Gran Torino, who decided for once see how his grandchildren doing and managed to postpone some of the ongoing cases in the police. They were sitting on the table setting the cake as Izumi decided that it was time to bring up the issue of Izuku being missing for God knows how long. She approached her father, who seemed to be with the other parents, and displayed her concern, which was heard by everyone. Izumi. Father. Toshinori. Yes, princess, anything wrong? Izumi. Well, Izuku haven't been going to school for a few days. To be honest, I don't know. Everyone in the room was concerned. It was odd for Izuku to just ditch school in itself without a reason, but their answer came in when a glare came from Najire, who didn't hold back despite her parents' dismay. Najire. How nice of you to notice now. Katsumi. The hell you mean? Najire. Oh, I don't know, maybe that Izuku had ran away a week ago and none of you have noticed that. Tell me, Izumi, the only reason you remember him now is because your little play toy that you and your friends like to bully and put down every day along with the school and suicide bait him is gone, and you won't find the fulfillment to beat him to the ground to make yourself feel good. Didn't you tell me that you were afraid that he would become a hero so he won't die, and said that you will bully him for a week, which in turn to a year, then a full-blown 6 years of neglect, bullying, and many more? The word that Najire said sunk into everyone's ears as the adults turned to glare fiercely at their children, who seemed to shrunk in fear, but they also directed it to the parents since they didn't seem to even know a thing about Izuku. Najire. Let me make a few things clear. I never wanted to be here or even remotely close to any of you or celebrate even your birthday. It should be Izuku's birthday, something he never celebrated in 6 years because her parents think that Izumi is a hero material and that she is a high priority. Well, guess what? Izuku stole a portion of money and bought a boat and decided to go to America, where quirkless people are seen at least as a human being. He told me that day that he wanted to become free from the cage that you seem to be putting him in. Everyone by now was panicking. They were told that Izuku had ran away, and not only that he left the country itself, they are not even sure if he is even alive to begin with, since traveling in the sea alone is a huge risk. Aizawa worried. Damn it, why didn't you tell us that before he ran away? Najire shrugged. Who am I to take away his freedom, to take away his dream? Although it pains me, it was his choice to make, and as a good friend I had to respect his decision, although it was all of your faults as well. Najire. Father. Najire, that's enough. Enji. No, let her tell what she wants to say. Najire. It took you all 6 years to figure out that he was being neglected and bullied by someone pointing it out. Haven't you even noticed how the only thing those two points at Izumi parents only talk about their daughter and never even mentioned Izuku for once? That was a heavy blow for everyone in the room. They obviously noticed the behavior of both Toshinori and Inko when they talk about their daughter, but they never thought about it much. Nejire. Also, none of you have tried to contact him face to face. You instead chose to send gifts, which was the only nice thing he ever received, but he thought that you were doing this to get him busy so you can spoil Izumi, but he never complained because he stopped doing that years ago when his parents ignored him. I was there for him along the way, not just because he is a friend but because at some point he wanted to end it all. Everyone gasped. They never realized the gravity of the situation. They knew they had their own workload, but for them to not even give the time of their day to check on Izuku, who is quirkless, is a heavy blow. They send gifts as a way owning up for not being there for him, but that was misinterpreted and he now see that as them making him busy so they can dedicate their being to Izumi and her friends who were gifted. Inko cried obviously as she had been silent the whole time when Nejire was bashing their head. Izumi had realized how much damage she created and Toshinori was silent. He never expected that outcome. Not for years. He just thought that he was giving Izuku the space he needed after being told he was quirkless. Nezu. She is right. I have nothing to argue here about. Toshinori. But we need to look for him. Gran Torino. Shut up. Didn't I teach you to not speak when adults are speaking? Since you are clearly not a one, I have to hold every ounce of my willpower to not snap right now and have this house fall on top of us. You seem to have forgotten where you started. Toshinori. Although she is right, I should have checked on him, but I expected that you feel some sort of connection with him given that you were once formerly quirkless up until 14 or so. Ray crying. What are we going to do then? He ran away and there is a high possibility he could have died. Nejire. He wouldn't die. Mitsuki distressed. How do you know that? Nejire. Being neglected have its perks, one of them being that he learned survival training from a young age. At some point he told me that he would chase animal and take their meat to cook them. Everyone was beyond shocked, but it felt cruel. No child should even consider learning survival training because he wasn't even fed in the first place, but this was the last straw as Inko rushed to her room, locking it as she cried a lot. Nobody went there to comfort her except for Toshinori and Izumi, but they were blocked. Nezu. We aren't done speaking. Toshinori, you need to understand the amount of damage you, your wife, your daughter and those children have caused. We are extremely lucky that he had Nejire in his life, or he would have taken his life because of the stress and the isolation you put him through. Toshinori. I just wanted to give him space. Gran Torino. Glare. Of course you'd say that lame excuse. That line is outdated. You need to get creative with your excuses the next time. Nezu. Even if that's true, do you think that isolating him to the point that you people won't even grant him the basic human right, which is food, or even celebrate his birthday, then this excuse is false. I will just cut to the chase. Due to Izuku running away outside of Japan, and we don't even currently know his destination aside from going to America, we will assume the worst, that he died on the sea or reached another country. It will take a lot of money and calls and reports to even hope to find him in the first place, unless he decided to return to Japan at some point. But while that happens, there will be punishment, and depending on the investigation that I am going to be launching, you might even get blacklisted from All Hero School. Nezu stood up as he and Aizawa walked out, followed by an angry Gran Torino who didn't even want to celebrate Izumi's birthday anymore. The parents dragged their children away to their home to have a serious talk about their punishment that they are going to lay on them, but in general the Yagi were given glares the whole way. It was due to their action that Izuku ran away and possibly be even dead, and their friends no longer respect them. Nejire on the other hand was greatly satisfied and was being the cheerful herself. Her parents noted to not mess with their daughter as she had single-handedly reprimanded the adults like they are children. No one POV. Location. Marine HQ. Izuku is currently 14 years old. A lot has really happened over the course of 4 years. He had obviously started training in the first year in martial arts under Hacks and some other known Marines who had different style of martial arts which suited him greatly. At the end he took inspiration of Dragon himself, as in honor of his now adoptive father he made a fighting style called Ryusoken. That style focuses on holding one's fingers in a claw fashion, crushing the adversaries with a powerful grip. He mainly uses it to destroy the enemy weapon first before he go for the finishing blow. Obviously Dragon couldn't be any more prouder to have a son who created his own martial arts which is dedicated to him. Made him quite happy and pleased. Even Garp was quite impressed and laughed that day when Izuku was made to test his martial arts on lower ranked Marines, and he obviously came in top. The next 3 years were obviously hell, since he along with both Ace and Luffy were put through Haki training, and the amount of time they got beat up or thrown in random placed whether in the jungle at night, being thrown in deep riverine, or being tied to balloons and sent flying. Anything was possible. Izuku wondered if he would die at some point because he could see that his grandfather clearly is enjoying this more than he thought. He wondered if the old man wanted him dead or something because he clearly knew that there was a more merciful way than his training, but the old man wanted them to gain Haki quickly. Thankfully they got the concept of Haki quickly, although Izuku was the more proficient one in it as he had once used Conqueror Haki in distress. The other two were doing quite well, and surprisingly Luffy did quite well. He was a genius when it comes to battle but can be sometimes idiot at other things. Luckily with Izuku and Robin help he became a little smart, which made Garp and Dragon pleased. At the beginning the kids along with Robin were taken into small-time missions which won't harm them, but that was to test their strength. Of course they were under surveillance to make sure they are doing okay, and that's when they got the nickname the Three Devils. They were a fearsome trio mainly because Izuku was the brains and the most rational one out of the two, while Ace and Luffy were the arms, but that didn't mean Izuku was weak. In fact he can compete with Ace and Luffy despite not having devil fruit or quirk at all. That also made him quite terrifying in his own right. Robin on the other hand was also a good duo with Izuku, as well as they had complete mission together and they have done also well. Izuku over the years had opened up completely to his family and they accepted him to make a point. Ace stole a sake as a way to say that the three of them are brothers, which brought them great joy, although they were scolded afterwards. Robin and Izuku got quite close. She became aware of Nejire and she didn't mind much about sharing Izuku. She knew very well that most of the higher-ups get with more than one woman, and she knew Izuku was kind and will treat her properly. That's why we could see Izuku walking left and right, rubbing his forehead furiously as he is trying to figure out a way to ask Robin out on a date. Obviously it won't be the regular date that people go, since they are strictly not allowed to go out of the base without being accompanied for safety reason, and they didn't all mind much. He decided to wait until his two brothers left for training. That's when she is usually alone by herself, mostly reading. That's when he will strike the conversation and build it up to make the two as much comfortable as possible before he dropped the bomb. He then stopped walking around and his eyes showed determination. It was 2 hours that both Ace and Luffy started to head to the training facility. Luffy: "Hey big bro, are you coming to train with us?" Izuku: "Sorry little bro, I am kind of busy right now." Luffy: "Oh man." Ace seemed to caught on what was going on as his smirk grew even more. Izuku started wondering if Ace is dense as everyone depicted him to be, but oh well, he seemed to respect his privacy as Ace placed his arm around Luffy's shoulder as he gave Izuku a wink. Izuku mouthed him, "Thank you." Luffy: "Ace, why are you taking me out?" Ace: "You see, our brother need to do something important." Luffy: "What could it be?" Ace: "When you grow up." Luffy pouted, "I am old." Ace: "Nope, you are still our little brother." Ace dragged Luffy outside and made sure to close the door. Izuku sighed in relief as he went towards Robin's room. He took a deep breath as he knocked on it. Not 5 seconds later it was opened by Robin herself. She wore a rather nice clothes that never hid anything, not even her still developing breast. Robin: "Izuku, I thought you'd be training with those two." Robin, despite being shocked that Izuku is still in the house, she was also quite happy she get to be alone with her crush, which is perfect for her. Maybe she could finally confess she had read many books about romance before to understand her feelings. Izuku: "Smile, I was a little exhausted, that's all. How about we continue reading that book?" Robin: "Smile, that would be lovely." Robin, despite being the less talkative person out of the group, she still appreciated anyone who shared the same hobby with hers. She had to admit at first she felt out of place because of her hobby to only read, but finding Izuku she was happy. She then opened the door widely for Izuku to come in, although he was a little uncomfortable given that he is trespassing to what the male population would call Forbidden Garden. She then ushered him to sit next to her in bed. That made him fluster, including her as well, but he complied to not make it awkward than it is already. They had covered themselves and closed the door to gain privacy as she pulled the book. Izuku: "So you are at page 76. Robin: "Yeah, the book is quite fascinating, especially the author's use of words and how he described the city. I would love one day to visit it." Izuku: "Likewise, but I am more interested in the main character and how he will overcome the trials ahead of him." Robin excitedly: "Same here." It has been a total of 1 hour and they were currently at page 97 in the book, which was a good progress. They have chatted and discussed their opinion about the main character before it was time for him to confess. Izuku: "Hey Robin." Robin: Yes, anything you need." Izuku: "Well, I wanted to ask you something very important that I've been meaning to ask you, but I was a little shy to do so. I wanted to ask you if you were willing to become my girlfriend. Robin was quite shocked to say the least. She was also planning to confess, but for Izuku to also have the same feelings made her happy. She hugged him before she kissed him on the lips with a lot of love behind it as Izuku closed his eyes and enjoyed the peace and quiet that they had together. Robin, I also love you. To be honest, I was planning to confess as well today, but I didn't know how to put it. Izuku, smile, well, I am glad that we could be together. Robin, same, how about you sleep with me? Izuku, that is fine by me. She then placed the book to the side as she adjusted herself to sleep in her side, with Izuku doing the same as they stared into each other's eye before they connected for another kiss before embracing each other into a hug and slept the next few hours. No one POV. Location: Marine HQ. It has been a few months ever since Izuku confessed to Robin. Things have been going so well with them, but the most notable thing is that day it was already 5 months since they finished Garp Hell training and they were reporting to his office for an announcement. The three were walking side by side as some people were whispering about them, and in a good way, as they have managed to accomplish things so far and they weren't even ranked yet. Some people have even started a debate on what ranking they will take if they decided that they should be ranked. It varied from Commodore. There is those who chose Rear Admiral, but they were 14 years old and the responsibility will be big, so all had managed to agree that they would probably be Commodore. Luffy was eagerly walking to his grandfather's office. Even Ace, who was usually a rebel, held a twinkle in his eyes, showing that he was excited and eager to learn. What is the important announcement? As for Izuku, he had a good idea on what will happen. They have already partook in some mission, but they were supervised and they had already made a reputation of themselves out on the sea, so why wouldn't they consider promoting them in the first place? That's why they found themselves standing in front of the metal door, as over the years they made his door metal instead of a wood so it wouldn't be destroyed easily. But who are they kidding? That won't be enough to stop him. Izuku being the more respectful out of his brothers knock on the door. Izuku D Midoriya and Monkey D Luffy and Portgas D Ace reporting. Garp, come inside. Izuku opened the door as he walked in the middle of the two, who took both his sides as Garp had a neutral gaze, but Izuku could see how proud he is of them. Like, who wouldn't they have managed to accomplish things none of the kids their age managed to achieve? So if anyone is deserving of this rank is the three of them along with Robin. Garp, any of you have an idea of what I called you here for? Luffy, is it another mission? Ace, yeah, I hope we would fight unsupervised this time. Izuku, is it about promoting us? Garp, smirk, well, that is correct Izuku, you three idiots are going to be promoted to Commodore. You would have been promoted to higher, but the two of you, points at Luffy and Ace, are idiots and won't be able to handle the responsibility, not to mention the three of you are young to take Rear Admiral position. Luffy, all right. Garp, shut up brat. Luffy, quiet down, as Garp smirked once more and pulled a cape which had their rank name as they took it and placed it on their back as Garp grinned at the full-fledged Marines who attained Commodore at once. They could have gotten higher rank but their age didn't allow it. Garp, you look like a full-fledged Marine. Now go out and spread fear into the hearts of those bastards who think they can clash with us. Ace, that's what I am talking about. We are going to show them that we mean business. Luffy, I get to sunk ships now and do crazy stunt without being supervised. Garp, get a grip on yourself. Luffy, we need to also spread a good image of us. Izuku, well, that is logical since we have the 5th highest ranking and we are 14. Garp, good, you understand. Now considering that you are now Commodore, those shitty laws in Japan don't apply to you people anymore, so come drink sake with your old man. Ace, grin, you speak my language old man. Garp poured some sake into 4 cups as he ushered for them to drink. Garp, cheers to the newly Commodore. Ace and Luffy and Izuku, cheers. They drank the cup at once as Luffy coughed hard while Izuku and Ace coughed slightly while Garp wasn't affected, instead he grinned. Luffy, how do you people can drink something as bitter like this? Garp, you will get used to it when you grow old. Now get out and enjoy yourselves. The three brothers walked outside with Luffy being in the middle, having both his arms around Izuku and Ace's shoulder, who had a smile. They had walked to the lobby where all the Marines saw the cape and they were feelings proud. Officers, called it. Officers 2, congratulations to the three of you. Officers 3, Commodore at the age of 14, they are the pride of the Marines. One by one everyone started congratulating them as they smiled and celebrated before they headed to their house as Izuku was met with a hug and a kiss from Robin, who had a deep smile as she was also promoted to Commodore. Robin. Congratulations you three. Luffy. Thanks. Ace. Well, we are strong, so that was expected, although he told us that we could have been promoted to a higher rank, but he claimed that me and Luffy are idiots. Robin. Well, Garpson had hoped that I would develop social skills from being Commodore. Izuku. Now let's celebrate. The four of them celebrated that night as they were quite happy with everything that happened in their life. Their terrible childhood was nothing but a nightmare to them, as they now have each other, as Robin and Izuku found themselves in their now shared bedroom as they got comfortable with each other. No one POV. Location. Marine HQ. Izuku is currently 17 years old. A lot has happened those 3 years. He and his brothers had spread their name in all of the world and underworld, and they were feared. None had the balls to even come remotely close to them or even engage with them. Anyone from the underworld that crossed path with them would flee away, as they had a flea on sight. It was also when they have finally got promoted to Rear Admiral. They didn't have much work, considering that there were a lot of Rear Admiral as it is, and nobody dared to even mess with the Marines as they had raised monsters, as people would describe them. Aside from that, Luffy had become a little mature but still held his childish persona, although he did land 2 beautiful girls, which were Nami and one of the warlords, Boa Hancock. They have been loyal to him. As for Ace, he had dated 2 girls but we never saw them yet. Now we could see Izuku walking hand to hand with Robin, who they had an engagement ring as they intend to get married at some point in their life. Next to them was Luffy and Ace. They stood up once more in front of the metal door that held so many memories with their grandfather, from playing games with him to becoming Marines and then getting promoted twice. Now they knocked on the door, which they were granted permission. They could see Garp, who held a smirk as he hadn't aged for quite a lot. They wondered if he was even remotely human to begin with. Garp. Sit down, you four. They took their seat as Garp poured sake for the 4 Rear Admirals, and they took it without hesitation and drank from it at once, but they didn't choke as they had got used to it like they were once told. Garp. So I have a long-time mission for the 4 of you. Izuku, you have all the right to refuse this mission considering where it is. Izuku. Where it is, grandfather. Garp. Japan. The room went cold as everyone was in shock. The 2 brothers along with Robin looked at Izuku, unreadable expression. They thought he would panic or get angry or something like that, but he was not showing any emotion. Izuku. I don't really mind. Robin. Honey, are you sure you want this? Izuku. Well, I can't hold on to my past for much longer. I need to get over what happened years ago, and besides, I am not alone, am I? Garp grinned. No, the 4 of you are going together. Robin. So what does the mission entail, since it's odd that it would be long-term mission? Ace. Well, she brought a good point. Garp. We don't know exactly the details, but we do know for a fact that there is a secret organization that are growing and have been creating bioengineered creature. They call it Nomu. Garp then placed a photo in front of the 4 children, who examined the photo, and they were slightly horrified, not because the creature was scary. They have faced even worse, but they knew what the thing is all about just from the looks of it and the name. It was made out of multiple humans. Luffy, angry. This is horrible. Garp. It is. That's why your mission is to find out who are the ones manufacturing them and eliminate them at once. If it proved to be too much for the 4 of you to handle, you have the right to call an admiral for these job, but I am sure you can handle it. After all, you're all my grandsons and granddaughter. Izuku. Is there anything worth adding? I could see that there is more to the mission. Garp. Well, I want you to join UA since they seem to target the school because of that stupid excuse of a human All Might. Izuku. Figured as much. Beside, if UA falls, the Hero Society will fall afterwards. It will be Japan as well, so they are quite dangerous and need to be eliminated. Garp. Correct. Principal Nezu was informed that 4 Rear Admiral will be joining the school to protect the student, but never told him the names. He was grateful. Ace. Well, that is smart, since the 4 of us are 17 years old, so we will fit perfectly. Luffy. But if I have to add, we won't be too much of a secret, considering that we are quite feared even in the underworld. Garp. Well, that's the goal of the mission. We want to discourage them from attacking UA, which will also give us time to look into them. Izuku. Noted. So when are we going to leave? Garp, smirk. Tomorrow. Ace. What? Garp, glare. Have a problem? Ace. Nope. Garp. Good you are to wake up at 6 a.m. so make sure to sleep well beside be grateful because you have been living most of your lives in the base and you get to explore the world outside maybe even go enjoy some of your childhood that most of you missed. Izuku. Well that is nice we should hit the beach once we go there. Ace. Talk about yourself man, we can't even go to the beach like you. Garp. Actually we have created a suit that protects devil users like you from drowning. There is also a temporary medicine that lasts 5 hours that will allow you to enjoy the beach without drowning. We are still working on a permanent one since sea weakness is not something we would like to have. Luffy, star eye, that's so cool. Robin, smile, I could finally try my new swimsuit. The four nodded as they saluted before they headed out of the office as they went to their houses. Each went to their room to prepare their luggage. Given that Izuku and Robin are engaged, they decided to have their clothes in the same suitcase. It took them around 4 hours to place their clothes and any necessary items before they decided to rest at the living room. Ace. Hey Izuku, are you sure you're okay with the mission? Izuku. Why not? Besides I would be kind of pathetic if after 7 years I am still holding on to my past. Beside I am Rear Admiral which makes me outrank any people in Japan, even the Hero Commission and the government. They won't dare to make a foolish move on me. Luffy. Well glad you're fine big brother, but man having to wake up at 6 a.m. this will be torture. Ace. I feel you. Robin. I don't see what's wrong with waking up at 6 a.m. Ace. I am not talking to you two, I am talking about humans. Izuku. Funny coming from you considering that we are called the Demon Brothers. Ace shut up while Robin giggled and Luffy laughed as they decided to eat their least meal in the base before they have to leave tomorrow. Luffy and Ace ate like savages while Izuku and Robin were the only ones who had table manners. Izuku. I sometimes wonder how you people didn't learn anything from Inazuma about table manners and etiquette. Ace. Bro, we are alone in our house, we eat whatever we want, besides eating moderately like you two is not our style. Luffy. You tell big brother Ace. Izuku shake his head in amusement as they continued eating and headed towards their room to get the sleep that they need for tomorrow travel, but they are definitely going to make a name for themselves in Japan and bring fear into everyone who dare oppose them. No one Pav. Location. Japan. The warship that was taking the 4 rear admirals had took 2 days to finally reach the private shores of Japan that is owned by high-level officials in the government. Izuku was seen walking hand to hand with Robin as he had wore a rather nice suit but had removed the cape and jacket along with his trademark hat to leave some air. He looked quite the handsome. Ace and Luffy had followed as well as they wore their usual clothes, which wasn't one since Ace was pretty much shirtless and only wore pants. As for Luffy, he wore short, blue trousers with cuffs, sandals, and a sleeveless red vest. Izuku. You know anyone who see us now would think we are the children of the rear admirals. Nobody will expect that we are even ones considering our age. Ace. Well, they are in for a rude awakening. Luffy. But hey, at least we don't need to be escorted everywhere considering you and Robin know a lot about Japan since you once lived here and Robin loved reading book about geography. Izuku. Well, we should start heading to our new home. Ace. Why don't you show us around? You do know that our luggages have been placed in our new home. Izuku, sigh, fine. The 4 were obviously greeted with respect by everyone there before they find themselves at the streets of Musudafu, as Izuku had been having a nostalgia at seeing his hometown once more, but he didn't feel any better but felt a little bitter to be back to the place that shunned him for his quirkless status. But they were interrupted by an explosion that rung through the middle of the city. Being the curious he is, he decided to find out what happened. Ace. Man, just let it be, it's probably a no-name villain. Izuku. Well, you stay here while I go check on what's happening. I am a little curious, that's all. Robin. Sure thing, but I am coming with you. Izuku. The more the merrier. Izuku walked through the crowd and found that the heroes are standing frozen. He was a little annoyed and even more curious as to what had them all frozen like that. As he looked at the scene to find Caribou, he was shocked at how the guy managed to escape prison and come here in Japan, but he seemed to suffocate someone and we saw the victim. He froze a little as the victim is Katsuki Bakugo. He didn't know if he should help him or just ignore him, but he is a rear admiral. A petty feelings should not get in the way of his job. Robin knew that Izuku will want to handle Caribou himself, so she let him do his thing as Izuku walked in front only to be stopped by Death Arm. Death Arm. Kid, stay away, we need to wait for the right person with the right quirk. Izuku, tick mark. Well, I suggest you remove your hand if you don't want to lose your job. Death Arm was a little taken aback, including everyone who heard Izuku, but their answer was received when the supposed villain paled when he saw Izuku's face. Izuku. Hello Caribou, I am surprised you managed to escape prison. Well, no matter, there is two ways this situation could go, either the hard way or the easy way. Caribou, shout, what the hell, why did the Marines send a rear admiral? Everyone gasped as they looked at Izuku, who wasn't impressed in the slightest. Caribou threw Katsuki away, who was gasping for air and obviously tried to run away with a bunch of no-name villains covering his escape, but Izuku just used Conqueror Haki, resulting in everyone to be knocked out before he rushed at speed the likes never seen, and in second Caribou found his face slammed to the ground by Izuku before he had C-prism cuffs slammed to his hands. Izuku. You know better than trying to escape me, Caribou, but this time we will make sure to place you in a high-level prison so you would never see the day of light again. It was also this time that Ace and Luffy made their appearance and were surprised to see Caribou. Ace. Izuku, is that Caribou? Izuku. Yep, Caribou. Damn it, how many rear admirals is there? Izuku. 4 of us, but that doesn't concern you in the slightest. The civilians watched in awe as the 4 admirals had made an appearance and how one of them managed to knock all of them with just a glare. Even the heroes were speechless. Izuku and his brothers along with Robin had arrested all of the villains before a marine van came in, taking them all in before they saluted all 4 of them and left immediately. Ace. So much for the first day here in Japan. Luffy. Well, we should have accomplished what Grandpa asked us with the camera crew recording us. That will stop the organization from attacking for the time being. Izuku. I guess here goes for the tour. We should return home instead since we will be hounded by the media for questions. Robin. Well, that is for the better, I guess. They started walking to the direction of the crowd as a female reporter placed a mic on Izuku's face. Reporter. Are you 4 really rear admirals? Izuku. Yes, we are rear admirals. Reporter. What has brought you all to Japan? Izuku. Sorry, but I can't disclose something like that, so please excuse us, we just came today. The reporters tried to ask more, but they had walked away by then. Death Arm was shaking because he knew for a fact that he could have lost his job and that he made a first bad impression on them because of his comment, but there was no one more shocked than Katsuki Bakugo, who heard and saw Izuku in the flesh, especially a certain family who were watching the TV news. Izuku, on the other hand, walked along with his brother and fiancé to the new home bought to them by the Marines. It was more of a mansion rather than anything, and they expected it considering that they are all rear admirals, so they are treated even more better than even the #1 hero in the country. There is also a pool in the backyard, including a training facility underground which was made to serve the 4 of their abilities and had weights like the traditional gym, but it is much advanced. No one POV. Location. Uahai. It has been 2 days so far since the Caribou incident. Nothing major happened aside from Izuku this time giving them a tour around the city, but they had to drove a car since they were quite trending in Japan, like who wouldn't just. Now Japan had 4 rear admirals among them, and because of that and the display of power in that incident, the crime rate decreased by a lot and the public were quite pleased, including the Hero Commission, who had been trying to deal with the rise of the League of Villains. Aside from that, Izuku and the others have finally managed to get comfortable in their new home and found it a lot better than in the Marine base, since they are free to do what they want. On the other hand, in another area in Musudafu, there is a small family who are searching everywhere for their long-lost son, but they came empty-handed. It was All Might and Psychic. They were overjoyed with his return, but the fact that Izuku is a rear admiral came as a shock for them. Even All Might was taken aback. He knew from experience what will happen if he get on their bad side, which he remembered the time when he was invited to their main base for a mission, but he stupidly interfered in their job when he foolishly tried to stop the elimination of a criminal who escaped, and now he received the beatings of his lifetime. And it was worst when it was the Admiral Garp himself, and he was kicked out and was banned from ever setting foot in any Marine base, and he headed the warning since he never managed to recover from the beatings. Izuku woke like he usually does in the morning. He found Robin awake and was preparing herself, as today they will be paying a visit to Principal Nezu of Uahai for the mission. He yawned before he rubbed his eyes slightly, trying to remove the dizziness before he stood up and started walking towards the bathroom, not before giving Robin her morning kiss. After they wore their dress along with their rear admiral coat, they headed towards their biggest challenge, and that is waking up 2 grumpy brothers that would be Ace and Luffy. Izuku decided to take the risk and wake up Luffy gently, but he was sleeping as rock, so Izuku decided to do something his grandfather loves to do, and that is the fist of love. Coating his hand in armaments, he bonked slightly hard in his head as Luffy stood up and shouted in pain as he rubbed his forehead as he looked at his brother Izuku. Luffy. Hey, can't you wake me up a little nicely? Izuku. Sorry little brother, but you know as well as I do that you and Ace don't wake up like any normal human. Besides, if I didn't do that, you would have punched me in your sleep just like last time when you and Ace almost burned me. Luffy laughed sheepishly as we heard a little scream, which was muffled to look and see Robin pinning Ace to the bed with her devil fruit and suffocating him to make him wake up as Ace was wide-eyed and his body was lit in fire before she released him as he started panting for air. Ace. You crazy women, are you trying to kill me? I haven't been able to become a dad yet. Izuku whistled. Wow. Didn't know you wanted to become a dad, but first you need to be responsible to become one. Ace. I am responsible, you just don't see it. Izuku. Well, anyways, you should prepare to meet Principal Nezu about the mission. Ace. Oh, yeah, that's right, we will have to meet with the sewer rat. All four of them busted in laughter before they wiped their tears as Izuku and Robin left both boys to get cleaned up so they can eat their breakfast, which was pancakes. Luffy and Ace favored breakfast as they rushed and ate everything in the plate and wanted even more. Luckily, Izuku and Robin had made backup as they had knew this will happen. After they were done and had brushed their teeth, they walked out to the car as Izuku sat on the driver's seat and Robin sat next to him. Ace and Luffy was never allowed to drive at all since they tend to get crazy when driving, as Izuku started the car as they drove immediately to the school that nurture heroes High. Ace. Hey Izuku, you know that there is a high chance they would be involved. The car was silent afterward as they waited for Izuku's answer as they looked at the rear view mirror to see his reaction, but surprisingly Izuku grinned. Izuku. We will cross the bridge when we are there, but hey, at least I have you three with me, so I have nothing to worry about since I know you all have my back. Robin. Of course we have your back no matter what. Luffy. Just like she said, big brother. Izuku. Thanks you three, now we should be here. They then parked near the entrance of as they walked out of it only to be greeted by Principal Nezu and Aizawa, who held a shock expression. They didn't think that the rumors were true that Izuku was back, and not only that, he was the rear admiral, basically outranking him and every hero out there, including All Might himself, and the government can't do jack shit to him. After they composed themselves from their initial shock, they decided to act professional. Principal Nezu. Rear admirals, how about you come to my office where we will discuss the matter even further? Robin. That would be appreciated, Principal. Izuku and Robin along with his brothers walked behind Aizawa, who had Principal Nezu sitting on his shoulder. They walked through the corridors of the school, which was bustling with students who, when they saw the guests and the cape, they straightened up as they stood far away from them as to not get in the way of their work, finding themselves at the wooden two-door office. Aizawa opened it as Nezu jumped from his shoulder and took a seat in his leather chair, ushering for the four of them to get comfortable in the sofa, as they did, with Izuku and Robin being next to each other and Luffy and Ace sat next to each other. Principal Nezu. I was told by Admiral Garp that he will be sending 4 rear admirals to Japan, but I am shocked that you are all the same age as my students. Ace. We were trained by Gramps from a young age. We were even going to be promoted to Rear Admiral at the age of 14, but they saw us too young to assume our position, but here we are now. We are all Rear Admirals and we are only 17 years old. Nezu. Nod. Then I will get to business. I am sure you were informed of what the missions entails, I assume. Izuku. Yes, we are. Admiral Garp have made sure to give us a briefing of the mission and what to expect. Nezu. Good. Then here is the deal. I would like you to become students in my school for the moment. Izuku. We decline. Aizawa. Why that? Izuku. We were trained and educated to the highest degree in the Marine HQ, so we are pretty much knowledgeable, and even if it was for the sake of blending in. Our identity was already revealed the day when I had to take down Caribou, an escaped convict. Aside from that, none of us sees ourselves having the time to sit in desks to listen to lectures about how to become a hero, because frankly none of us want to be heroes. We are Marines, or to be specific, we are Rear Admirals. Nezu. That is fair, I suppose, so what do you suggest? Robin. I suggest that we become staff here at UA. That will also allow us to have more reason to not only be limited to a certain class year and be able to protect the students. Luffy. Not to mention despite having this long-time mission we also have some reports that we need to file, like Izuku had to file a report about the Caribou incident and send it to the admiral, so we don't have stable schedule like you all do. That's why becoming staff will allow us to protect the students. To top it all off, our personal work won't be affected. Nezu, sigh, that is acceptable since I don't have any arguments against it. We will be informing the other staff members about this as well and will be given IDs to be able to access entry to the school. Izuku. Good, is there anything that would need to be brought to our attention? Nezu gulped slightly along with Aizawa. They wanted to talk Izuku as his uncles, but they don't want to make a bad move, but luck wasn't on their side as the door was opened revealing All Might and Psychic. Inko cheers Izuku. Izuku. Fuck. Izuku was now faced against his past. What will he do? Will get angry, or will he kick them out calmly, or will he forgive them? No one pav. Location. Uahai. The meeting has went rather smoothly. Into Izuku's point of view it felt surreal and thought there must be something big that will happen, and lo and behold the door was swung open revealing his past that he will need to overcome if he would ever want to find peace. Inko cheers Izuku. Izuku. Fuck. Obviously Inko, being a mother, she got in her mother mode as she started reprimanding him for his usage of such vulgar words in her opinion. Inko. Young man, you need to watch your tongue. Izuku. You do know who you are speaking to, right? All Might. Our son, that's what. Where have you been? Izuku. My name is Izuku D Midoriya. I don't remember you people ever being my parents. Not only that, I am a rear admiral. You should choose your next words carefully, because I assure you that the admirals and marine in general hate you with passion, and the amount of dirt we have on the both of you is massive. They sat quietly. They knew they were playing a gambling right now, and one wrong move, one wrong word could lead them to an early demise, so they tried to use the old tricks in the book. Inko. We know we were bad parents, but please give us a chance. No, give your sister a chance. She have been suffering from depression for quite a lot of time, especially Shoka and Katsumi, who were in love with you. Everyone aside from Inko and All Might were unimpressed with the lame excuse as he let her rant about why he should forgive them. E.C.T. Izuku. Are you done with the lame excuse? Inko. What? Izuku. You heard me. That is the most oldest excuse in the book. Besides, I don't remember having a sister. I only have two wonderful brothers, and they are sitting in front of me. Not to mention I am quite happy with my life as I have a beautiful fiancé sitting next to me. Izuku then proceeded to kiss Robin in front of them as she kissed back, making them even more heartbroken. All Might. But, Ace, harshly, there is no but here. Why don't you leave already with that ridiculous tight hero costumes of yours? You look like a clown rather than a pro. I don't see what the kids admire about you. Robin. Excuse me, but didn't you two already have enough tormenting Izuku? Inko grit her teeth. What do you mean had enough? I just want my baby back and make up for my past mistake. Robin. The fact that you two don't realize the damage that you made is beyond me. You have neglected him from the age of 4, leaving him to survive on his own and to learn to cook for himself. Do you think that a child his age should be responsible of something like that? Inko. No. Robin. Do you think that when your daughter, along with her friends with the exception of Najire Hado, bullied him and ostracized him, not to mention the multiple suicide baiting, and made it their personal mission to ruin his life at middle school by having his grades sabotaged, lunch destroyed, do you think that will leave a good impression? Do you think that he will even think that Katsumi and Shoka are even potential girlfriends, or even friends at that? Inko crying. No. Robin. Now tell me, what would have happened if he decided that he finally had over with life and decided to take their advice and jumped from the roof? How would you feel that your daughter and her friends bullied him to the point that he chose to forfeit his life because of it? Inko crying. I would never forgive myself. Robin. Now let me tell you something. The day Izuku ran to the sea, do you know what happened? Inko crying. What? Robin. Izuku ran into the Marines, the Revolution Army. At that they were fighting high-level smugglers, and he was caught in the crossfire and the boat sank. The scar here, she run her finger at Izuku, I came from that incident. He would have drowned if his adoptive father Dragon didn't rescue him and told him about his biological father Hisashi D Midoriya. So tell me, what would have happened if he wasn't lucky and died drowning? How did it feel all those years when you were worried whether he is alive or dead? Inko. Worse, since we didn't have any confirmation if he was even alive or not. Now it was silent. Nezu and Aizawa were impressed with how calmly she handled the situation, although it didn't appear so since she was gripping her hand to the point that blood ran through her first, which Izuku noticed and comforted her, but she wasn't done yet. Robin. Now one more last thing, what do you think mother mean in your opinion? With your answer we will determine if you even deserve a chance at that. Inko, sigh in relief, a mother is someone who fed her children and trained them to become strong and independent. Everyone in the room were unimpressed and shocked at how she didn't have any idea on what a mother mean. Robin. With that answer I'd say give up on ever becoming his mother. All Might. What? But what she said is right. Robin. Let me tell you what a mother is since you clearly don't know it. A mother is someone who raised their children to be respectful to their elders and to feed them well so they can grow up well and be healthy. A mother's job is to make sure to have him enjoy his childhood and to cover his eyes from the dark side of the society as his childhood is limited. A mother's job is to make sure her son is doing well both academically and socially and act if her son was shown to be hurt. A mother loves her children equally no matter who's the strongest or the better one. A mother respects her children's decision no matter how weird it is unless it is harmful for him. It is a mother's job to help him grow and support his dream along the way, as a mother won't live long and will have to one day become independent and leave the nest. So tell me, did you do any of that to him? Everything dawned on Inko. She thought that a mother always means to implant their own ideals into them and train them to become what they want him to turn out to be. That is one of the reasons they pushed Izuku away, because they thought he have nothing to contribute to society or won't be able to handle taking the mantle, unlike Izumi who had the power to back it up. Izuku. Honey, you need to take a deep breath. Robin started taking deep breath as she buried her face into Izuku's chest as she was tired from bashing them. The room was silent as a tear fell from both parents' eyes, but they weren't fazed and hardly cared. Nezu. All Might and Psychic, you heard what he said. You need to leave him alone. He doesn't need you two anymore, so it's best you go out and never talk to him unless work-related. The two pro-heroes walked out of the room in defeat as Inko had lost her only chance at redeeming herself because of her lack of understanding on what a mother should be. Aizawa. We deeply apologize for their behavior, and as your former uncle I also apologize for not realizing what was going on. Nezu. I would like to apologize as well, and I am not asking for forgiveness. Izuku. I don't hold any grudges against you two or the parents of the children and Grandpa Torino. I was told that All Might was quirkless at some point, so nobody would have expected him of all people to turn out like this. Nezu and Aizawa sigh in relief as the four rear admirals stood up and walked away, not before bidding farewell to both of the principal and Aizawa, who were a little more happier than before as they returned to home, feelings a little happy that they managed to lay the ground rules. Nezu. Yes, I have a chance. Aizawa. Should we call the parents and Gran Torino? Nezu. Yes, we should do that. They would want to see their nephew and grandson after all those years. No one Pav. It has been a week in their arrival at Japan. They have managed to get used to the new environment and Japan as a whole. Robin has convinced Izuku to go see Nejire, and she made it clear for him that she doesn't have problems sharing, considering that she basically took him from her. So Izuku sighed as he and Robin found themselves in front of the Yukio agency. They got inside, where they met the receptionist, who greeted them with respect. Receptionist. How can I help you both? Izuku. Is Nejire Hado here today? Receptionist. Yes, she should be returning as of now with Yukio. Izuku. Thank you. They waited for 10 minutes, getting a little comfortable in the reception before both Yukio and Nejire walked inside, and when they saw the guest they were surprised, but Nejire had many emotions going through her. Right in front of her was Izuku. She rushed towards Izuku, jumping on him to hug him as she cried while Izuku was patting her head. Nejire. You idiot, where have you been all those years? Izuku. Sorry. You know I had my own problem as well. Also sorry I couldn't see you a week early, but I had to settle in Japan and get used to the changes here, and also avoid my former parents who caused me too much problem a week ago at the principal office. Nejire. Okay, but who is she? Izuku. Oh, that is my fiancé Nico. Robin. I hope you two get along. Robin. Izuku, can I speak with her privately? Izuku. Sure. Nejire followed Robin in a private area. She was a little depressed that she lost her chance with Izuku, even when she told him that he could find a girl he liked, despite how much it hurt her heart. But what came next shocked her. Robin. I will be blunt, I am okay with sharing Izuku, and I don't mind doing it with you. To be honest, I feel it was unfair considering that you were both in a good relationship before he ran away. Nejire. You don't need to do this. Robin. I am not doing this out of pity. I know that he also liked you since you were one of the few that accepted him, and besides Marines especially higher rank 110 to have more than one wife, so it's totally normal. Beside I know that he would treat us equally, that is his nature. Nejire beamed, thank you so much. I've always loved him when we were kids back then, but when he decided to run away I was a little sad, and despite how much it pained me I told him to find someone he likes and that loves him, so I also thank you for taking care of him. Robin chuckled, well, he is my fiancé, so I will obviously take care of him. Beside he is quite unique as he is smart and share the same interest as me in old books, and overall he is caring and gentle. While they were talking, Izuku and Yukio was left alone together, and Yukio felt awkward. She knew his position and doesn't want to get on his bad side, which was noticed by Izuku. Izuku, you know I am still 17 years old, so don't be tense around me. I am usually not the type to flash my position around. To be honest, I don't like that attention towards me, but when an escaped convict that I dealt with appeared in Japan he would have recognized me. Yukio. Oh, I see, sorry about that. Izuku. No need to apologize to me. In fact, I am a fan of you back then and even to this day. Unlike most heroes today, you are quite down to earth and humble and have no problem admitting that you were at fault even publicly. That's what makes you special than most heroes, and you deserve more. It's a shame that society underestimate the female population. Izuku had always deep admiration for Yukio because unlike All Might she cared about the quirkless society and most of her funds goes to them, and she deliver it herself not to get attention, but she is aware that most of the money are taken by the greedy owners. Yukio on the other hand was in awe that someone like Izuku, a rear admiral, had called her special and admitted to be a fan of her. Yukio relaxed, so tell me, how is it like being a rear admiral? Izuku. It's actually quite nice if you ask me. You know, a few years ago I was a citizen here in Japan before I ran away because I was not treated well for being quirkless, and so I decided to run away to the sea seeking freedom and maybe head to USA where quirkless are treated better there, but I ran into my adoptive father Dragon, who took me in, and then met my adoptive brother, my grandfather Garp, and my fiancé. It is much better since I am not being judged. Yukio. That's sad, but what about your parents? Didn't they do anything? Izuku. Actually, my biological father was dead, but my adoptive father, who was All Might, and my biological mother Psychic, neglected me in favor for my little sister who had a quirk and who bullied me along with her friend. I just had an encounter with them last week where they tried to convince me to return to them and act like nothing happened. Yukio frowned. She didn't expect that All Might and Psychic would be downright heartless, especially All Might, who would preach about how everyone can be a hero, but to think that he is like that behind the scenes disgusted her. Yukio. I really had expected better from the two. I guess even the top heroes are not what they make themselves to be. Izuku. That they are, well, I am really happy, and to be honest don't care about them one bit. I have people who really care for my well-being, which is enough for me. Yukio. Well, that is good for you. You should come pretty often. I really enjoy our conversation. Izuku. That would be nice. Nejire has seen returning to Izuku along with Robin, and he smiled as they saw them smiling. Izuku. I am glad that you had a good conversation. Nejire. Yes, it was really good. So I heard that you are going to be staff at UA. Izuku. Yes, along with my siblings as well. Nejire. Great. I guess we could also be together a lot more often. Izuku patted her head, which made her pout cutely before Izuku decided to leave with Robin, but not before he received another kiss to the lips from Nejire, which he kissed back since he knew that this was the goal of the visit. Nejire separated from the kiss as she was beaming with happiness. Izuku. So she had agreed. Robin. Yes, she did agree. She is quite a nice girl, although have too much energy. Izuku chuckled as he wrapped his arm around Robin's waist, pulling her next to him as Yukio watched from afar. Yukio thought, so he is in multiple relationship, May. No bad, Yukio, he is younger than you. Yukio. So you two are dating? Nejire. Well, his fiancée told me that she doesn't have problem sharing him and that I am second person in the harem. Yukio. Wow, Nejire. She said that higher rank Marines tend to have more than one wife. Yukio thought maybe I have a chance as well. I just hope he is into older women. She shook her head quickly, trying to bury the thought away before she guided Nejire inside her office to talk about today's patrol and how the internship will go from now on. No one pav. It has been 3 months so far. Izuku along with his brothers and his fiancée Robin managed to get used to Japan, and the news about them became in the past since people moved on from it, which they are grateful for. Izuku has took Nejire into dates and started to hear her stories about what she did those 7 years he have been gone, and he was shocked when he heard at what happened at Izumi's birthday party. It made him understand why he was so desperate to get him back, because he pretty much lost his friendship and his salary once he joined UA is screwed up because Nezu won't even consider paying him the salary that was in the contract. He moved from having a salary of 100k per year to only 5k. Izuku even wondered why he was being paid in the first place. The guy already have money to buy lands, not to mention his might tower work with or without him, so he has regular income in his bank. There is also the issue of Izumi and the other girls. They were pretty much stalking him, which was pretty creepy. Luckily, since he is a rear admiral, he could use Haki or jump around without being reprimanded. Obviously they would chase him not so secretly to find where his house is, but Izuku would pretty much run around the city, essentially tiring them while he wasn't exhausted in the slightest. Apparently he learned from Nejire that they have some serious obsession with him and won't even let him go. Luckily Izuku never dropped his observation Haki, so there was nothing that can get the jump on him no matter what it is. Izuku has been keeping a regular contact with Yukio. They were good friends and shared some of their problems at training. Interns, or in Izuku's case young marines, are those who are under him. They also shared some of their issue with dealing with the higher ups and some people they dislike. They would really laugh together and were quite enjoying themselves. Obviously Izuku has started to develop feelings for Yukio, as her humble nature and confident posture and beautiful look is intoxicating. He know for a fact that Robin doesn't have problem sharing him with any girls. She even gave him some of the girls that Izuku has kept a good level of friendship and told who she thinks are good and who she think are faking it, and Yukio fell into the category of those she think they are good. Izuku has finally decided, after contemplating and getting the opinion of his brothers and Robin about training Yukio and Nejire into Haki, which they agreed, as they have already met them and they already like them, so they didn't find anything wrong with it. That's when Izuku had made the offer. He told them that he will give them the most easy yet difficult training. He wouldn't give them his type of training because they won't handle it like he could, since he is A.D. Nejire did her training, but she complained then and there, but when she heard how Izuku training went she paled and was thankful that Izuku is merciful with them. Yukio was more eager to learn than Nejire, since she sometimes found herself in situation where she can't use her quirk since it could endanger the surrounding area, so when she got the offer she jumped on it, not only to get stronger but also to bond with Izuku even more through training. After those months of training they managed to use Haki. Apparently Yukio had really good observation and armament Haki, but her armament Haki was much better than her observation Haki, mainly because she engages with her enemy in her dragon form. Nejire on the other hand had a knack for observation and armament Haki as well, with her observation being higher since she is not the hand-to-hand fighter. It was after that training that Yukio had gotten quite popular, although she greatly hated it, but the people were curious about her power-up and she was honest, saying that she was trained but never mentioned Izuku's name since Izuku didn't want people trying to be friendly with him so he can train them. Obviously they wanted to know who was the mysterious person, but she would never budge. It was also safe to say that Yukio and Izuku had bonded so well together in their training that they have finally confessed to each other. Yukio couldn't describe how much happy she was when her feelings was acknowledged, and Izuku would often take her on a date and they would enjoy their life. In general it felt really good for Yukio, and she was impressed with how he is managing his work, his social life, treating his girlfriends and fiancé equally, and she was happy that she made the right decision to date Izuku, as most pro-heroes today are seeking either more fame and money, quirk marriage, or just for one night stand. Flashback. Izuku have been watching Yukio training. She was obviously tired and slightly battered and bruised. It hurt Izuku's heart, but he knew that his training was far more better than that of his grandfather. Besides, he never forced her to continue training, she did it in her own volition. Izuku brought a water bottle and handed it over to Yukio, who took it and drank it rapidly. Izuku, slow down, the water ain't going nowhere. Yukio, embarrassed, sorry. Izuku, it's okay, take some rest, the training was hard this time around but you did really good. Yukio, well, I thought if you could do far worse from what you told us then I should at least put some effort. I don't want to take the easy way out. Izuku smiled. He could obviously see how determined she is to continue the training and perseverance. He already know her feelings towards him, as he could read her, and she really sucked at covering it. Beside observation, Haki could be quite useful in this sort of situation. Izuku was happy to know that she have feelings for him, considering that he also love her as well. He watched as Yukio was leaning on a tree taking a deep breath. That's when he decided to do it. Izuku came close to her, making her wonder if the training is over, but Izuku didn't let her speak as he placed his hand to her cheeks, making her blush at the touch as Izuku brought her close to his lips, and her heart started beating really fast as she realized what was happening, and she can't say she wasn't happy as she closed her eyes with their lips connecting with each other. The kiss was magical between the two as Yukio teared up in happiness as she was worried that Izuku might not be interested in older girls, but he was already interested in her, so she wrapped her arms around his neck, not wanting the kiss to end, and her legs was around Izuku's waist. She didn't want to be free from that magical kiss. At some point their tongues started getting involved in the kiss as it danced together in harmony, exchanging saliva for 5 minutes. They were enjoying the privacy that they were having right now and the quiet. They then separated, leaving a trail of saliva between their mouth as Yukio looked dazed before she jumped on top of Izuku, who fell slightly on his back but wasn't hurt. She had her breast pressed against his chest as she stared into his eyes. Yukio, you don't know how much I've been waiting for this moment. I love you, Izuku. I love how kind you were and how gentle, caring and down to earth. You never treated me as someone under you but treated me as a hero and a friend. Izuku, well, I love you as well, Ryoko. I really admire everything about you, from your caring nature, down to earth nature, gentle nature, and how much you are willing to work hard and diligently to earn something instead of trying to get the easy way. Yukio smiled brightly as she smashed her lips once more with Izuku, and they pretty much started to make out that day for the next 10 minutes before they stood up from the ground. They were a little dirty and her hair was slightly disheveled, but she didn't care. She adjusted herself with Izuku doing the same. Yukio would come to cherish that day forever, as it was the day where she met the love of her life, who will stick with her to the end of the world. She also hopes to one day have the opportunity of having her own children, but she will wait for it and see how their relationship will take them. But one thing is for sure, Yukio wants to be with Izuku for the rest of their life. End of flashback. No one pav. Izuku is currently sitting in his bed cuddling with Robin as they talked about their usual stuff. Izuku has been really contemplating hard if he should eat a devil fruit, but he would risk having the weakness of the sea, something he preferred to avoid. But with technology around and those anti-sea drugs created by their scientist, he had nothing to worry about as he got first-hand experience when he saw Robin, Ace and Luffy playing in the ocean with him and never drowned. Garp even suggested that he would eat a devil fruit. He didn't doubt Izuku's abilities to fight, only using Haki as he was the prime example of it, but it won't hurt to have some sort of edge in battle, and didn't want Izuku to feel that he is the only one out of his siblings to not have a devil fruit, so Izuku had agreed and even talked it out with everyone, who told him that it was his choice to make at the end, and that is why he had made the call and the devil fruit should be delivered to their house. The devil fruit he chose was the Tori Tori no Mi model Phoenix. Just like the name implies, he could transform to a phoenix, giving him regeneration abilities and firepower, and could suit his fighting style. The door rang as Izuku stood up and walked towards the door to find the box, and the one who delivered it was gone. He sighed as he took the box inside and sat in the sofa with everyone joining in. Ace. So, it came. Luffy. I wonder what devil fruit you chose to eat. Robin. Well, I know it should be something that suits you well. Izuku nodded as he opened the box inside. It was a metal box as well. He placed his finger on it and it opened. As it recognized his fingerprint, it opened, leaving some smoke before a blue fruit just like the sky appeared. It had a few golden parts and Ace eye was wide like a saucer. Ace. You chose the Tori Tori no Mi model Phoenix. Izuku. Yep. What do you think? Robin. It's really good actually. Your fighting style revolves around Dragon Claw, although it is more of a phoenix. It could be really helpful. I think you chose extremely well. Luffy. I don't really know what it can do, but I bet it's awesome. Izuku. Smile. It sure is. Izuku started to eat the devil fruit before he sticked his tongue out in disgust, but he had to swallow it, with Robin chuckling and giving him water as he drank it, trying to get rid of the horrible taste. Izuku. I never knew that devil fruit taste sucks. Luffy and Ace. Now you know how we felt when we ate ours. Izuku then brought his hand out as his hand turned to blue flames. He was at the process of freaking out slightly, but he kept his composure as the flame grew. He then imagined a tingling sensation in his back and a blue wing came out as he flew in the room, as everyone clapped and were impressed to watch it in person. 2. Luffy. Star eyes. That's so cool. Ace. Grin. I expect no less from you. Robin. Congratulations, honey. Izuku calmed down as the fire disappeared and he smiled at everyone as Luffy and Ace gave him a bro hug and Robin gave him a kiss to the lips. Izuku, smile, thanks guys. I think I will start training it. I am glad that Grandpa had sent also some information on it and some techniques to train at. Robin. Well, be sure to be careful. Izuku. I will, thanks for your concern, honey. Izuku then headed to the elevator with them coming with him as they pressed the ground button 5 times before it started taking them down before the door opened, revealing an underground gym which they can use to train their devil fruit. It also has safety procedures, like if a devil fruit were to go out of control, a syringe will be shot to the neck which will knock him out. Izuku walked inside a white room. It was pretty much empty, nothing out of the ordinary. Apparently the walls serve as a way to cancel devil fruit. Well, it is mainly used to lock people in it, and pulled the note that was given to him as he read it. The concept was pretty much easy to understand, but it's easier said than done. He have to get familiar with it before he could even create his own techniques. 1. The first step he did was create blue fire. It was easy enough, but he wanted to do all over his body. It took him 10 minutes to realize he will need a little bit of concentration since he is still new to it, but he then went to the second part of the training, which morphing part of his body into Phoenix. That was slightly difficult since he have to make a mental image of what he want, but he got the concept quickly before he tried a full body Phoenix, and it was majestic. He flew around the place with Ace, Luffy and Robin watching, amazed at how he is getting the hang of it pretty quickly. Luffy. He is getting the concept pretty quickly. How come I had problems with mine? Ace. You were an idiot and your body was small, but here Izuku is well built and could handle it, and he have something we both don't have. He is quite smart. Luffy pouts as Robin watched in amazement. She is mesmerized by the form her fiancé is taking, and she could see his smile. She knew that he always wanted the freedom that birds have, and she could only smile as well as she knew he is going places. Izuku started to perform some of the techniques, although with much difficulty, and had crashed multiple times in the wall, which made him rub his head. Ace went through the mic and tapped it slightly. Ace. Hey Izuku, how about we test your regeneration? We will start with fake bullets and then we'll move to real ones. Izuku. Sure. Robin went towards the command center and made sure to press the fake bullets button, as she didn't want her future husband to be killed by accident. The guns appeared in every corner of the room and started shooting him, but it did nothing as the part it hit Izuku regenerated completely. Izuku grinned. It felt really good for him that bullets won't hurt him anymore, as despite how strong he is, out of his 2 brothers he had high chance of getting hurt by bullets, although he used Haki to block the attacks. Ace. It sure lives to its reputation. Speaking of Haki, Izuku started to morph his Phoenix Claw, imbuing it with armament Haki as it glowed slightly red, and he started to kick the air, creating stronger blue flames. He didn't want to hit the wall since it isn't immune to Haki. Seeing that it was now 2 hours, he stopped as he stood in the middle, his body morphing back to his original form as he was smiling, and the door of the room opened as he walked out of it to be greeted by high five and a kiss to the lips from Robin herself. It felt great. Ace. So how does it feel? Izuku. It really feels great. It's freeing to be flying like this. Robin. I saw the smile of yours, glad you're happy. Luffy. You were pretty badass and cool out there, big brother. Izuku. Thank you, Luffy. They then walked to the elevator, getting to the kitchen to make some food to eat as they had a nice and warm dinner, quite happy with how the day went so far before Izuku went to his office and started making reports about him safely acquiring the devil fruit and how the training went, making sure to insert a video in the mailbox of how they tested it out. He sent it to his grandfather Garp and Father Dragon to show how far he is in using his devil fruit. He knows that he have those 10 months as devil fruit grow strong with their user, as the longer you have it, it gets stronger. No one pav. Izuku was seen walking towards Ua. His brothers along with his fiancé had important things to do in the house, so he was tasked to go there, which he really didn't mind considering he was done with his batch of paperwork, something both his brothers despise about the job. Walking towards Ua, he had managed to get in mainly because he had the ID with him. Izuku was glad that classes was happening, as he would be able to avoid the unnecessary attention to himself. Izuku found himself standing in front of the principal office as he knocked on the door slowly, as it was opened by Aizawa, who was smiling to see his nephew being the one to come, not that he have anything against the others. Izuku. Hello uncle, I hope you had a good night's sleep. Aizawa. Yeah, I did. Having expelled this year freshman removed a lot of workload from me. Izuku. Wow, they must have pissed you off. Aizawa. They were not serious about the hero job, they were planning to party and have fun, just don't want people dying needlessly because of their arrogance. Izuku nod, we do the same in the marine, so you're not the only one. Izuku managed to walk inside as he found Principal Nezu, who was smiling as he gestured Izuku to take a seat, which he did, and out of nowhere he pulled a tea, which Izuku was not fazed anymore as he was used to his uncle weird power of summoning tea out of nowhere. Izuku graciously accepted the offer as he took a sip from the tea, and he was always impressed with brewing tea skill. Nezu. So I am sure you are wondering why we called you here. Izuku nod, yes. Nezu. We want you to meet the big three. Izuku. Big three, I heard Nejire tell me about them. Nezu. Well, good, she told you that will makes things easier to understand. The big three are the pride of Uwa. We didn't choose them based on power or control over quirk, but their teamwork. Izuku. I could understand that, but what does it have to do with us in the matter? Nezu. The leader was excited to meet you and wanted to have a spar to see where he stands, and sadly it's hard for us to find good people that could possibly fight the three of them together, as their teamwork are flawed, which means that they can't improve. Izuku. I see. Well, I have no issues with the matter considering that I am a staff here. Nezu. Glad you are okay with this. You three can come in now. The door opened, revealing the big three with Nejire walking happily as she rushed, hugging Izuku and even kissing him in the lips, which Izuku reciprocated. Next that came behind her was a tall young man with a very muscular build who possesses a number of noticeable scars around his lower arms. He has blue oval-shaped eyes, drawn in a simplistic style with no visible sclera, and nose which is prominently rounder than most others. He has blonde hair, the top part of which is arranged in a cowlick, while the bottom section is worn swept backward. In his school uniform, Mirio dresses like most of the male students, without the blazer. He wears a belt with a large, rectangular golden buckle in the shape of a carnivorous mouth. The last one was a tall young man with rather pale skin. His ears are longer than most, their tips pointy and somewhat elf-like. He has messy, indigo hair, which sticks out behind his head, and thin, tired-looking eyes, partially covered by his bangs despite the fact that they're supposed to be split as to not impair his vision. His shoulders are usually hunched, and he avoids making eye contact with people. When wearing his school uniform, Tamaki wears his outfit in a slovenly way. His tie isn't tightened all the way and his shirt isn't completely tucked in as it should be, making it seem as if he doesn't put much effort into his appearance. Mirio. It's nice to meet you, sir, and thank you for accepting my selfish request. Izuku. Not at all, and please call me Izuku or Midoriya if you want, after all I am your age. Mirio seemed to smile and felt relaxed much more than he was before, as he didn't see any of those people that boast about their title. Izuku extended a handshake which Mirio accepted. Izuku. Now you must be the big three. It's nice to meet you too. I already know Nejire since she was childhood friend. Now I heard that you were having problem finding a sparring partner who can fight the three of you and even best you, so I don't want you to worry about anything. Your growth is my goal after all, so why don't you change into anything you want, hero costume or PE uniform, anything that makes you comfortable, and we will meet at training facility B. Mirio. Okay, that would be awesome to spar with us. I mean Midoriya. Izuku smiled as the three left, as they went to change to their hero costume, mainly because they don't want to have him strip in front of Izuku because of his quirk. Nezu. So what are your opinion on them? Izuku. They are nice people, but I could notice that Imajiki Tamaki has lack of confidence. We will have to work on that. Aizawa. Sigh. We tried everything including his intern Fat Gum, who will be coming here to watch him fight against you if you don't mind. Izuku. No. Not at all. I could see that he have problem with being pressured by seeing people watch him. That should be considered as training in itself. Izuku then stood up as he walked towards training facility B. He was already geared up as he was always ready no matter what. 10 minutes later the big three walked out with their hero costume. Izuku had to admit they looked good in it. Izuku. I got to say you three looked great in your hero costume. Mirio. Thanks. Izuku. Okay. Principal Nezu should be here along with some guests. They were curious who were the guests until the door opened, revealing Fat Gum along with the staff as Tamaki tried to lower his head. Tamaki mutter, so many people, why? I want to go home already. Izuku smile, do you like the audience? Imajiki, we brought them here to watch the three of you, especially how cool you are. Tamaki realized that this was set up and he tried to imagine everyone as potato, which calmed him down before he broke a little. Everyone in the audience was informed of Izuku's plan, which placed a smile on Fat Gum's face. Izuku. Now then, I want the three of you to come and fight me. Mirio. With pleasure. Mirio rushed in, trying to attack Izuku from behind, who titled his head, making the punch miss him as Mirio let his quirk active and fell onto the ground. Izuku thought, interesting permeation, that's a good quirk. A tentacle found itself wrapped around Izuku's body, who smiled and saw the embarrassed Tamaki with Nejire flying in the air. Nejire. Energy output 30%. Izuku decided to lay his plan and show them their flaw in their teamwork. Izuku. Wow, look at everyone cheering you on, Tamaki. Tamaki made the mistake of looking at the crowd, which made him afraid, which made his tentacle loosen up as Izuku smirked and grabbed the tentacle, pulling him towards him as he flung him towards Nejire, who couldn't dodge and fell from air. Izuku. Tamaki, you need to work on your confidence. The reason why they are brought here to show the first weakness in your teamwork. You have lack of confidence and are pressured when seeing a crowd. That won't do if you want to become a hero, because no matter what you do, you can't avoid the public. Mirio. You talk too much. Mirio was behind Izuku, attempted a punch, but Izuku infused his hand with Haki and gave him a devastating backhand, sending him flying with a broken nose. As everyone was in shock, nobody was able to touch Mirio when using his quirk. Izuku. I never let my guard down no matter what. On the other hand, you had the upper hand, but you let your guard down when you thought you guaranteed a punch. I am sure you didn't expect someone to be able to touch you when using your quirk, didn't you? That is the second weakness. You expect the fight to end quickly, thus dropping you guard down. Not to mention you were extremely reliant on your quirk to be able to get on the weak spot. Not to mention you go for the obvious weak spot, which is the back. Try to get creative. Nejire was in air as she was charging her attack once more, but Izuku was already behind her in air and slammed her on the ground as she came out battered, unable to move again. Izuku. Third weakness, Nejire. You expect you'd always have the upper hand when in air, but what if the enemy decided to take the fight to the air just like I did? That is why you lack hand-to-hand combat and should consider taking one. Now this fight is over. Think carefully at what I said, especially you, Tamaki. I am not targeting you. You have potential unlike anyone I have seen in my career. People like you die because of that foolish mistake, because they lack confidence. That's why I suggest you see a counselor to talk it out, because you can't keep it bottling inside you, because it will destroy you from the inside and later claim your life before you can even step foot out in the real and harsh world. The three sat quietly as they realized that they always expect to overpower the other by their number and combination attack, but each had weakness that stopped them from being a perfect team. Izuku. There is a lesson in the marine that we all know by heart, and that is quirk, devil fruit or nothing but mere tool. I am sure you saw what I did there. I engaged with all of you in hand-to-hand combat. No devil fruit was used in this fight. The only thing I used is armaments Haki to have my fist connect to Mirio, but that is a power that could be gained by anybody, but the training to acquire is something most people would ban because it is considered inhumane and there is a high death. In conclusion, if you have an enemy who could negate your quirk like Eraserhead, then you are royally screwed because you are heavily relying on your quirks and neglecting the other aspect. The staff, including the pro heroes that watched, clapped in amazement at the speech. Tamaki had gained a determined look to not disappoint his teammate and not hold them back, and that is by carrying his weight around, something noticed by Fat Gum, who smiled brightly. Fat Gum thought, finally, it the first time I saw that fire of determination in your eyes, Tamaki. Rear Admiral Izuku, I am in your debt. The big three thanked Izuku greatly for the lesson that they learned today and were honestly seeing Izuku as a role model, a guy who just went and fought them with nothing but hand-to-hand and never used powers except the Haki that they still didn't understand much, but they could see now the level they are playing at, as Izuku was in a league of his own. Nezu, smile. It was a great idea to have Izuku fight them. Aizawa. That it is. Now we need to patch them up. The big three was then taken to Recovery Girl. Their injury wasn't as much as both, aside from broken nose, some broken bones, which was expected, but overall there was a lesson learned today. No one paw. Crunch. We could see Izuku's fist connect with the face of a mafia boss, breaking the man's nose and knocking him out quite easily. Letting out a sigh, he looked at the captain of a marine base in Musudafu, who was saluting the rear admiral, showing his respect. Izuku inquired, is there anything the soldiers found? Captain, politely, aside from the usual drugs and weapons trafficking, there is nothing unusual with the base. Izuku let out a sigh as he watched as the mafia boss was apprehended by the Marines officers and dragged outside to a special van for later interrogation. Izuku, sigh, this is the 12th base we raided so far and there were no lead at all about the organization. Captain apologized, apologies Rear Admiral sir for wasting your time on such a trivial matter like invading those low-life thugs' bases. Izuku waved his hand, not really bothered by raiding the bases as it served to keep him in better shape and didn't want the captain to feel uncomfortable around him. Izuku. Don't worry, I'm not upset, but it would be nice to get information. Hopefully Rodriguez Santos would know something when we interrogate him in the Marine base. Well, I will be taking my leave since my job here is done. Make sure to have a Marine soldier send me a report if anything new comes out of the investigation. Captain saluted, yes, sir. The captain ended it with a salute as Izuku walked away out of the warehouse that served to be the operation of the former mafia boss Rodriguez Santos. A black SUV walked in front of Izuku as man came out, revealing one of the chauffeurs that tend to the rear admirals that are present in Japan as the man opened the door. Chauffeur. Let me, sir. Izuku. Thank you, Jack. Izuku got inside the SUV as he took off his hat and placed it on the seat next to him before proceeding to remove his brown gloves, which were now stained with blood, before placing it in his pocket, making sure to sanitize his hand. The SUV had started taking off towards the mansion. Ring, ring. Izuku looked at his phone to see the caller ID revealing the principal of UA, Nezu. It has been a few months ever since he became a staff at UA along with his siblings, and they have taken their role quite seriously, and with them being around it made the students feel quite safe and the crime rate decreased quite quickly with their presence. Answering the phone, Izuku placed the phone to his ears as he got ready to have a conversation. Izuku asked, "Hello principal, to what do I owe this call?" Nezu answered, "It's the time of the year, Izuku." Izuku understood what Nezu meant. After all, in a month and a half the entrance exam will take place once more, and it's the time where his former family will enroll into the prestigious high school. Izuku sighed, "So I assume I'm needed." Nezu. "Yes, your opinion is highly valued in our school as you and your siblings have much more experience in recruitment." Izuku asked, "I see, so is Robin there as well?" Nezu. "Yes. She was the one who suggested we have this meeting, which I have to agree since it gives us time to go through the applicants and determine their behavior, history, quirk, physical capability, mental capability etc. Izuku. "I see, I will be there." Ending the call, Izuku let out a sigh as he remembered how this all came to be. After all, despite UA being one of the most renowned hero school in Japan, they never made background check on their future students. It was mainly because UA want to inspire the future applicants that UA trust them and that they won't be judged for their past. And while it may have been a good thing, but it's also a naive thinking of UA, and to some they might think that UA had become overconfident in their securities and strength. That's why in their last meeting, Nico Robin had literally and figuratively put her foot down on the situation and countered every argument the UA staff had, and at the end they had to agree with her logic and reasoning, which is why UA has adopted the idea of making thorough background check to not be taken off guard. Flashback. At UA High School we could see the staff of UA in a meeting room reserved only to them, and currently the first-year teachers are attending this meeting along with the rear admirals who had recently become staff as well. Nezu. There is 3 months left before the entrance exam starts, and all who are in the room currently will be the teachers of the new first year. The staff seemed to nod their head in agreement. It was obvious that they were used to this, as most of them had taught the third year who were in the process of graduating right now. Nico Robin then stood up, catching everyone's attention. "Robin, I managed to read the guidelines of UA and there is something that I completely don't understand." Ectoplasm. What would it be, young lady? It was obvious that after 2 months in UA the staff have gotten used to the rear admiral's presence, and after some persuasion from their parts the staff have agreed to call them by their names. "Robin, why is it never stated in the guidelines that there would be background check on the participants?" Robin and the siblings looked at the staff of UA and the principal of UA, who seemed to chuckle slightly, realizing that they were still being familiar with the school system. Midnight. "We never made a background check because we wanted the future students to not feel like their past will hunt them in UA as well. We wanted them to feel comfortable and think of this as starting anew." Ace. That's what we call a naive thinking, Midnight. Midnight. What do you mean? Izuku. What he means that while it's nice that UA aims to make the future students comfortable, making background check on all students is also necessary so as to not be surprised when something unexpected happens that could cause more trouble than it should be. Luffy. After all, the students reflect on the school as well, like let's take All Might and Psychic Daughter and her friends. They've bullied others with weak quirks. If something like this were to come out to the public, it will bring more trouble than it should be. All Might angry, are you saying that my daughter shouldn't get a chance to become a hero? Or even redeem herself? Robin. That's not what he meant, All Might. We're saying that having background check will give us staff members of UA an idea on how to counter said student. What to expect from them. How to deal with them. Do they have troubling past that could hinder their progress? It might sound like a simple task, but things like this could mean a lot between life and death. Izuku. This is what we do in the Marine HQ whenever we recruit new batch of Marines, and believe me, some of them were former criminals who we deemed worthy enough to start anew, but they are closely monitored until they have proven themselves loyal to the Marine. Ace. Also, others might not share the same view as all of you, because if not most would think that UA had gotten overconfident and even arrogant to believe that they are immune to anything the world could throw at them. Luffy. Going in this blindly will only cause trouble for the future, so we should consider this situation, or we will have Aizawa expelling classes every year because the batch was not good enough. Having done their debate, the three siblings and Robin looked at the staff. Some of them were shocked by what was said and some had contemplated the reasoning and seemed to agree wholeheartedly. Aizawa. That's what I have been trying to say for years now, but you people thought that this was unnecessary and that students should feel comfortable in the new change of environment, and while I support this, students have gotten way too relaxed for my own liking, and it's why they also got expelled by me. Psychic. But still, power loader. I think this would be logical to do. I could definitely see the benefit of having a background check. It makes us more prepared for any situation that could happen. Vlad nod. Yeah, we could also avoid things like that disgraceful incident of the third year. The incident, while it was mostly forgotten, the upperclassmen that were around remembered that day quite well. What happened is that it was found out that a third-year student have been harassing and blackmailing female students to do his bidding. It was found out late when Ace had run in and overheard the conversation. It didn't end well. The third-year student was beaten black and blue by an enraged Ace. It reached a point where Ace had went as far as castrate the boy using his Mera Mera no Mi and had to be restrained before he could kill the boy. But sadly, the mental abuse that the girls suffered had deteriorated their self-confidence and flinched whenever around boys. They withdrew their application after a month of counseling, and some moved away from Japan hoping to start a new life. Everyone flinched remembering the incident as they looked ashamed in themselves, as after digging through the third-year student who was jailed immediately they learned that it wasn't his first time that he had done this, as it all started in middle school, and sadly his actions were condoned by the teachers since the boy had increased their reputation in the city. Cementos. Let's not think about this. We should be grateful that the parents had never taken the incident to the public, or there would have been public outrage. Present Mike, solemnly. Well, I can't blame them if they did. We failed. Those girls were supposed to be UA, the most safest school in the entire Japan, but for something like this to drag on for so long, it makes me feel sick to my stomach that our kindness and efforts into making those students comfortable and happy was taken advantage of to commit such horrible acts. Nezu. What happened can't be changed or reversed. What we should be focused on now is to make sure that something like this could be avoided, and anything that could potentially harm the students and the school as a whole. And I have to agree with Nico. Robin, we have been extremely lax with our students and they took it for granted. It's time to be more stricter. Robin, smile. As such, I have a plan. No one pav. Location. UA High School. The black SUV car had came to a stop towards the front of the UA gates as the door was opened, revealing the chauffeur as Izuku came out thanking the man for his hard work before stepping inside the school gates. Walking inside the school corridors, it was obvious that today was a break for students as Izuku continuously made turns right and left until he reached the staff room. Knock, knock. Izuku gently knocked on the door, which he later opened once he received an invitation inside the room. Opening the door revealed the staff and Nico. Robin. Izuku. So Luffy and Ace will not be here. Robin. Yes, they had things to deal with. Izuku nodded his head as he took a seat next to his fiancée, who smiled at him. Principal Nezu could be seen sitting in the middle of the room drinking his coffee. Nezu. Seeing as everyone is here, we could finally start the meeting. Nezu then grabbed a remote control and had a holographic screen to appear showing the faces of students. Nezu. Now then, regarding the entrance exam, thanks to help we managed to classify potential students, bad background but potential, and those we declined completely. It was a hard task, but the result was satisfying to say the least. Present Mike. Can we start with those we decline to those with background but potential and the potential students? Nezu nodded his head in agreement as he started going through those who were refused to enter the school, and most of them were involved in crimes like drugs and other substances. Nezu. Now on to those with bad background but has potential to become students, and the first on the list is Minoru Mineta. A picture of the boy was projected in the holographic showing some basic information like birth and important facts. Nezu. Now Minoru Mineta was raised in the Mineta household. Both his parents are workaholic, which is why they spend less time with their only child, leaving him unsupervised. In middle school he got involved with a perverted group who had tainted him to their side, and due to his small frame he was seen as less attractive and developed jealousy towards his attractive classmate who were adored by the female classmate. He had later started peeping on the girls in the changing room and was suspended a lot of time from school, but despite that I believe young Mineta have potential to become a great hero, as his quirk can be detrimental to hero society when trying to capture criminals. Nezu then looked at the staff who were contemplating on whether he should be accepted or not, but some had already wanted him removed. Vlad. He should be removed. We don't want a similar incident to what happened last time. Robin. I think you're being biased. Vlad. Excuse me. Izuku. The incident of the third year had came to be because the staff at the time were unaware of his true nature and never put their foot in the situation. Beside, the former third year had felt no remorse and actually took pleasure in his action. As for Mineta, he was simply friends with the wrong group, and his parents hadn't taken their role to the fullest in reprimanding him for his action. That's why if he ever passes he should go to Hound Dog for counseling. Maybe he could help him understand his feelings better. The staff remained quiet as they thought about the situation, and they thought that there was a point in this whole thing. Midnight. I think I will help him as well. Everyone looked at Midnight in shock as she looked at them and shook her shoulder. Midnight. What? I am a teacher after all. Besides, having a sexy heroine could be what he needs to curb his lust, and it will help him get used to having to deal with the female body. After all, I could help motivate him, since female is what drives him right now, and avoid him from getting too much frustrated that he would try to assault a female in school ground. Nezu. That does sound like a good idea. Now then, let's move on to the second student. The information of Monoma appeared on the large holographic screen. Similar to Mineta, general information was written. Nezu. Our next student is Nito Monoma. He is raised by the Monoma household who hold the Monoma enterprise. His quirk copy had gained him a lot of hate from others his age, as he was labeled as villainous by his peers. That had helped in making him frustrated, angry and hateful, believing that he should always be the victor to feel strong, and when he doesn't he get agitated and lash out. But thankfully his parents had helped him ease down his narcissistic attitude into something healthy like rivalry, but he can sometimes go overboard with insult. Vlad King. If he ever passed I want him in my class. All Might. Why that Vlad? Vlad. I believe that I'm the right person to deal with his type. After all, I spend a portion of my life in military, so I could control his tendency. Nezu. Very well. The meeting had continued as each participant was mentioned at one point in the meetings, and some had been removed due to the school not being able to support their attitude, but one thing was for sure, that UA is not playing around anymore. The League of Villains is a small organization that is hidden in the shadows. Only 2 members have been confirmed so far. We have run their faces on our database to identify them, but sadly, we came empty-handed, recited a Marine captain as he looked at his superiors. Izuku sat there pondering on what was said so far as he glanced at Ace, who grunted in annoyance. Being a very tempered person, he was obviously not happy with how slow their investigation was going. Luffy on the other hand might have become smarter, but he was as worse as Ace when it came to patience. After all, Luffy is just like his grandfather in terms of personality, so punching is all he ever knew. Robin on the other hand was as calm as he is, despite the investigation being slow, but learning anything was valuable at this point. Izuku then looked at the report, which featured pictures of the members of the League of Villains with general descriptions from eyewitnesses and anything they could gather around. Is there anything else you would like to mention to us, Captain? Asked Izuku as he looked at the captain, who was slightly nervous. Yes, we did notice that the crime rate has dropped significantly from before. Usually we could have written it off as the villains being wary of your presence, sir, but usually there are at least a few crimes going around in the dead of night, but it has been quiet for a few weeks, said the captain. Ace narrowed his eyes, which made the captain gulp slightly. Something big is about to happen. I don't know what it is, but for crime rate to drop that significantly imply that there might be someone recruiting them around, said Ace as he looked at the picture of the two members and frowned deeply. That hooded guy has been sighted around quite a lot. He could be the one doing the recruitment, said Ace. Robin took a thinking pose as she brought her index finger to her chin. That might be possible, but even then one member isn't enough to recruit an army of villains. There must be someone who is helping them with recruitment. It isn't necessary to be an official member, but a broker could be the case, explained Robin. Izuku then looked at the captain. Tell the men to be on guard, and if you can at least capture a small-time villain, we could probably extract some information from him about the possible recruitment that has been going around lately, said Izuku as the captain nodded his head before he gave a salute and walked away. Luffy looked at Izuku with confusion. What small-time villain could be of any use for us? Asked Luffy. He didn't see any reasons to go after a petty criminal. Right now all small-time villains are disappearing from the streets, only a handful are around and they're extremely low. The possible case is those remaining villains had gotten an invitation but had declined it for one reason or another, or they still haven't received an invitation, explained Izuku as Luffy seemed to understand. You do know that there will be a lot of misleading rumors. Ace spoke his own thoughts on the matter. Robin smiled. We know that there will be misleading rumors, but any information could prove useful in preparing for any different scenarios. Besides, we all could already come to the conclusion to what their goal could be, said Robin as Luffy hummed in thought even though he knew what the goal was. Uwa High is the most prestigious hero school in Japan, and just like All Might is known as the symbol of peace. Uwa High is the symbol of the hero society. If it falls, the entire hero society will crumble with it. So with All Might being a teacher in Uwa this year, it doesn't take a genius that they will most likely target Uwa, and with students being around, All Might will be forced to hold back to prevent harm for the students, which would make him an easy target to kill, said Luffy speaking for everyone. Ace let out a frustrating sigh. I don't know why Nezu didn't fire that guy from the beginning. His presence is already causing more trouble than he's worth, and right now the students are held hostages for any villain that decide to attack when the students are mostly isolated, said Ace. Everyone could definitely understand where he's coming from, but All Might has a lot of influence in Japan and UA reputation will be ruined if they were to as much fire him. Izuku closed his eyes before opening it again. There is no point in dwelling on the topic of All Might. We don't need any backlash from the public who worship him. We already have enough problem as it is. Right now we need to focus on our investigation and also warn the admirals about a possible attack on Uwa. Said Izuku before he stood up from his chair. Even if Uwa were to survive the attack, there will be a lot of public backlash about Uwa capabilities at protecting their students and would discredit Uwa. This will also serve at planting the seed of distrust, explained Izuku. Luffy stood up as well. We all know that the source of this problem that we're in is All Might. You might be willing to push it for another time, but if All Might isn't dealt with, more trouble will happen, Luffy said, quite annoyed, but Robin seems to understand what Izuku is planning. We might outrank All Might when it comes to holding power and authority, but he outrank us in terms of popularity, spoke Robin calmly as the siblings looked at her. If we were to act right now against All Might, we will definitely receive a lot of public backlash, which will ruin the purpose of our mission, explained Robin as Ace frowned because he knew she was right. But, spoke Robin once more as she looked at the siblings, we could discredit All Might, and while the attack on UA will bring a lot of public backlash, we could also take this to the media by showing concrete evidence that the villains were after All Might and that his presence is a danger to the students, which would allow us to completely remove him without any public repercussion, explained Robin as her lips twitched into a smile. Robin was definitely a cunning and intelligent woman. She is also able to manipulate people into believing her. We need to take this to Nezu as well to further strengthen the security around Uwa while also coming up with multiple plans to ensure the safety of the students, said Izuku as they all gained a smirk. Soon enough All Might will be removed. Clank. A small cup could be seen resting on the table, filled moderately with what appeared to be a sake. Leaning on the couch was a middle-aged man of moderate height and slight build, with eyebrows that appear to be drawn up most of the time and notably squinted-looking pink eyes. He has short gray hair worn parted to his right with side bangs hanging above his eyes, along with a small mustache and a goatee on his chin, and one of his front teeth seems to be missing, leaving a gap in his grin. He wears a pair of dress pants and a matching blazer, along with plain black shoes and a shirt which he leaves partially unbuttoned at the top. He has a thick, golden tube-like necklace around his neck that appears to be made up of multiple segments, sometimes along with a fluffy scarf that resembles intestines in shape and color, also sporting a pair of circular glasses on his face. "I don't see what's wrong with my deal," said the broker Kagero Okuda, also known by his villain name Jiren. Right in front of him sat an irritated slim man with pale skin. He has messy grayish-blue hair of varying lengths, the longest clumps reaching to about his shoulders, left hanging over his face in uneven waves. His eyes and mouth are obscured by what appeared to be a hand, their bright red irises very small. His villain costume sports 14 embalmed hands, all positioned so they're holding onto him onto different parts of his body. The embalmed hands was grayish-blue, giving it a zombie-like appearance. Attached to their base is a golden box with 2 holes drilled into the bottom. The man-child grumbled at the carefree broker. "What is the use of NPC to me if they could be disposed of easily? Remember, our goal is to kill All Might," said Shigaraki Tamura with hate-filled eyes. Jiren waved his hand dismissively. "Shigaraki, you're still a new player in the underworld. Those NPC, as you would like to call them, can be used to tire out All Might, and since you plan to strike when he's in the middle of teaching a class, we can have them be taken hostage, which will distract All Might, and then bam, it's game over for him," said Jiren with an amused grin on his face. Shigaraki went quiet, and the broker did bring a valid point. Jiren could see the cogs were slowly working in Shigaraki's brain. He was already dancing in his palm. Jiren then pulled a cigarette before he used his trusty lighter to light it and have a nice smoke. Besides, recruiting strong individuals will take great deal of time, something you don't have right now since you plan to strike very soon. Those NPC are fodders, their use is to protect you, the king. And Jiren glanced at the corner of the rundown bar to see a hulking creature obscured by the darkness, but its bird-like face could be seen clearly. "Your secret weapon that you intend on releasing in the midst of chaos," said Jiren, his grin widening even more. Kurogiri could be seen standing behind Shigaraki. His body looked to be made out of a dark purple mist save for his eyes, which are glowing yellow. He wore a very elegant suit with a tie and has a metal brace that goes from around his collarbone to just below his eyes. The man narrowed his eyes at the broker. He knew that Jiren is very good at making business, and manipulating people like Shigaraki to make a deal was an everyday thing for him, but he can't interfere. This was another test for Shigaraki and a way to nurture him to become a dependable and a capable leader. Besides, Shigaraki needs to learn an important and valuable lesson, and that is to use every small piece on the board, no matter how insignificant they may look, to reach or get close to his goal. If Shigaraki can't lead a group of small-time villains, then he should give up trying to control big-time villains, where competition over leadership will be common. "Show me your conviction, young master," thought Kurogiri as Shigaraki then looked at the broker, who was relaxed, having already guaranteed a deal. "Very well then. We accept all NPC you could recruit. Also make sure they only know the basics of what they need to know, but leave the details for later. We can't have those blasted Marines try to interrogate one of them and foil our plans," said Shigaraki with a glare directed towards the broker, showing that he wasn't messing around. Yikes, guess he isn't a complete amateur, but still, a deal is a deal. Though Jiren still maintained a grin. Standing up on his feet, he decided to take his leave. Not before he looked at Shigaraki. "I look forward to working with you, Shigaraki. Now we have a deal. I should be done with the recruitment in 2 weeks. After all, picking the best out of those fodders is my job after all," said Jiren. Shigaraki grunted. "Make sure they know who's calling the shots, Jiren. I won't tolerate any NPC trying to usurp me, or I won't be responsible for what will happen to you," said Shigaraki threateningly as he touched the table with all his 5 fingers, resulting in the table to slowly decay before the table was swallowed completely. Jiren felt a bead of sweat roll down his forehead. He was aware of Shigaraki quirk, and it won't be a fun experience to be at its receiving end. One thing is for sure, he knows how to intimidate. Maybe he isn't the typical villain with a big head and an impossible dream. "This will be fun," thought Jiren as he opened the door and closed it behind him, leaving the 2 occupants. Shigaraki stood up. "I'm going to my room to play some video games," said Shigaraki. He didn't wait for any response before he walked towards the long hallway that leads to his room, leaving Kurogiri alone as he had taken to cleaning the glasses like he always did. We could see a TV screen closed before it opened, revealing that there was someone behind the screen listening to the conversation. The screen showed only 2 words, audio only. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and make sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Now we will see you in the next video.